beloved child, it happened. The moment you thought was ahead has passed through your life. You did not recognize it because it did not look important. There was no crowd, no music, no sudden opening in the sky. It happened in an ordinary moment when you were tired, disappointed, and unsure whether anything you were doing still mattered. You made one quiet choice. You kept your heart open. You told the truth. You refused to become cruel. You continued when no one blamed you for stopping. My beloved child, I saw that moment before you understood what it revealed. For years, you believed you were waiting for me, waiting for an answer, waiting for a door, waiting for others to notice the work you carried, waiting for your life to finally make sense. But while you were waiting, I was present. I saw the days you called empty. I saw the nights when your questions felt louder than your faith. I saw when you whispered, "Does any of this matter?" then rose the next morning to continue responsibly. You were not invisible. You were not forgotten in a room where my attention had left. My beloved child, you measured those years by what did not happen. The opportunity did not arrive. The relationship did not become what you hoped. The prayer did not receive the answer you expected. The people around you did not understand the cost of your patience. Because the visible result was missing, you assumed nothing meaningful was taking place. But roots grow before branches can offer shade. A foundation settles beneath the ground before anyone praises the house. Much of what was forming in you could not be measured by the outcomes you were watching. You were learning what remained when reassurance disappeared. You were discovering what kind of person you chose to become when goodness brought no applause. My beloved child, I was not waiting for you to become flawless. I was not asking you to pray with perfect words, carry every burden without weakness, or finally remove every doubt. I knew the whole you. I knew where you were wounded. I knew the memories that made trust difficult. I knew why silence frightened you. I knew why you apologized even when you had done nothing wrong. I knew why rest sometimes made guilt rise inside your chest. I knew why you replayed conversations at night, changing sentences in your mind and wondering whether you had been too much or not enough. None of this surprised me. My beloved child, those habits were not proof that you lacked faith. They were clues. Somewhere in your story, you learned that peace depended on keeping everyone else comfortable. You learned to become smaller when tension entered the room. You learned to offer explanations before anyone asked. You learned to carry your pain privately because you feared your need would become a burden. Then when heaven seemed quiet, you interpreted that quiet through the same wound. You thought silence meant rejection. You thought delay meant disapproval. You thought the absence of immediate confirmation meant you had failed an invisible test. But my silence was never a sentence declaring you unworthy. My beloved child, remember Hagar in the wilderness. She believed she had been pushed beyond the reach of care, yet I met her where no one else was looking. She called me the God who sees. The wilderness had not erased her from my sight. In the same way, the places where you felt least recognized were never beyond my attention. I saw the private work. I saw the restraint no one celebrated. I saw the kindness that cost more than others knew. I saw the small prayers that barely became words. I saw you return after frustration, embarrassment, and doubt. My beloved child, you keep thinking the important moment must have been dramatic. You search your memory for the largest sacrifice, the strongest prayer, or the day you finally felt fearless. But what I saw was smaller and more honest. It was the moment doing the right thing stopped paying you back, and you still did not abandon who you were becoming. Perhaps someone treated your loyalty carelessly, but you refused to use their behavior as permission to lose your integrity. Perhaps you were exhausted, yet you still answered with patience. Perhaps nobody knew you were struggling, and you still kept one promise. That quiet response told the truth. My beloved child, the world usually notices the finished result. It notices the promotion, the platform, the achievement, and the visible victory. I notice what happens before any of those things. I notice the decision beneath the action. I notice whether love remains when recognition disappears. I notice whether you return after bitterness visits. I notice whether disappointment makes you dishonest or teaches you to become clearer. This does not mean every hardship was arranged as a test. It does not mean every closed door was secretly protecting a larger reward. It means no painful season had the power to make your faithful choices meaningless. My beloved child, you survived years when you thought your life had gone off record. It had not. Every time you chose repair instead of pride, something was forming. Every time you asked for help instead of hiding completely, something was forming. Every time you rested without earning it even briefly, something was forming. Every time you spoke to me honestly, instead of performing certainty, something was forming. You were becoming less dependent on applause to know what was true. You were learning that belonging could exist before achievement. You were learning to return. My beloved child, before this message continues, let one truth settle into you. You were seen before you knew how to feel seen. You were loved before you knew how to receive love without proving yourself. You were accompanied even when loneliness told you that no one had entered the room. The years you called forgotten were not empty pages. They carried choices, prayers, repairs, boundaries, tears, and returns that shaped your inner life. And the moment I will help you recognize was not a performance, it was a response. It revealed what grace had been quietly forming beneath your fear. Stay with me, my beloved child. In the next part, I will take you deeper into the misunderstanding that has followed you for years. You will see why silence became rejection in your mind, why you kept trying to earn a gaze that was already present, and why silence was never the verdict you believed it was. My beloved child, I told you that silence became rejection in your mind long before you understood what was happening. You learned to watch faces. When a room became quiet, your body prepared for something painful. You wondered what you had done. You reviewed your words. This was not because you were weak. It was because you learned to survive by reading what other people did not say. My beloved child, that habit followed you into prayer. When an answer did not come quickly, you assumed I was disappointed. When peace did not arrive immediately, you believed your faith was too small. When the door remained closed, you searched for a hidden failure. You asked whether you had prayed incorrectly, waited too little, doubted too much, or missed some instruction. You treated every quiet season like a courtroom. You stood there gathering evidence against yourself. But silence was never a verdict declaring that you were rejected. My beloved child, sometimes silence meant you did not yet have enough information. I will not tell you that every silence was designed as a lesson. I will tell you that no silence erased my love or made your honest response meaningless. My beloved child, your fear of silence shaped the way you related to people. You became quick to apologize. You said sorry for having needs. You said sorry for asking questions. You said sorry when another person was disappointed, even when their disappointment did not mean you had done wrong. You believed peace depended on making yourself easier to manage, so you softened every boundary. You carried responsibility for emotions that did not belong entirely to you. My beloved child, you called this kindness. Some of it was kindness, some of it was fear wearing kind clothing. Real kindness can tell the truth. Real kindness can disappoint someone without becoming cruel. Real kindness does not require you to abandon your own limits. When your yes is produced by fear, resentment quietly follows behind it. You give what you do not have, then you feel guilty for being tired. I am teaching you that love and honesty were never meant to become enemies. My beloved child, you also learned to replay conversations after they ended. At night, your mind returned to one sentence. You changed the wording. You imagined how the other person heard it. You wondered whether your face looked cold, your voice sounded proud, or your honesty became too much. The conversation had ended, but the trial continued inside you. You became both the accused and the judge. Every uncertain expression became evidence. Every delayed reply became confirmation that you had damaged something. My beloved child, this endless review did not give you control. It only made you responsible for possibilities you could not verify. There is wisdom in examining your behavior. There is humility in asking whether you need to repair harm. But reflection becomes punishment when it refuses to accept that you are human. You will not always say everything perfectly. Another person may misunderstand you, even when you speak carefully. A healthy relationship can survive clarification. You do not need to sentence yourself before the truth is known. My beloved child, remember Elijah after the strain of confronting danger and carrying responsibility. He became exhausted, afraid, and unable to see his situation clearly. I did not begin by accusing him of weak faith. He needed food. He needed sleep. He needed space to recover. Only then could he hear direction with greater clarity. You have often treated exhaustion like a moral failure. You pushed harder when your body asked for rest. You called yourself lazy when your mind was overloaded. You tried to earn peace instead of receiving care. My beloved child, rest is not evidence that your calling has disappeared. Rest can be an act of truth. It admits that you are not limitless. It gives your body an opportunity to settle. It allows questions to become clearer. It can stop fear from speaking with the voice of certainty. You do not have to collapse before you are allowed to pause. You do not have to finish every task before you deserve sleep. Your worth is not measured by how efficiently you ignore your needs. My beloved child, beneath your fear of silence was another fear. You were afraid of becoming a burden. You had seen people withdraw when emotions became complicated. You learned that being useful kept you included, so you offered support easily but struggled to ask for it. You listened for hours but shortened your own story. You carried someone else's pain while telling yourself yours could wait. When you finally reached your limit, you disappeared rather than letting anyone witness your need. My beloved child, strength is not the ability to need nothing. Strength includes knowing when isolation is no longer wise. It includes speaking before pressure becomes collapse. It includes allowing safe people to support you without apologizing for every minute of their attention. You were created for relationship, not constant self-containment. Receiving help does not cancel your ability to help others. It can teach you how care feels when it moves in both directions. My beloved child, I want you to see the hidden root clearly. You began to believe that attention had to be earned. If you were helpful enough, quiet enough, productive enough, forgiving enough, perhaps no one would leave. If you prayed correctly, served faithfully, and avoided disappointing anyone, perhaps heaven would answer quickly. You were performing for a gaze you feared might disappear. But my attention was not a prize awarded to your best behavior. I saw you before the performance began. My beloved child, this does not mean every desire will be granted or every relationship will remain. Love does not promise that no door will close. My presence does not remove the need for wisdom, boundaries, medical care, counseling, community, or patient decisions. But when something changes, you no longer have to begin with the conclusion that you are unwanted. You can ask what is true. You can gather information. You can pray honestly. You can wait without building a case against yourself. My beloved child, silence can be uncomfortable without becoming condemnation. A delayed answer can remain uncertain without becoming proof of failure. Another person's quiet can invite a conversation rather than an apology made in panic. Rest can feel unfamiliar without being wrong. Need can feel vulnerable without becoming shameful. These distinctions are part of your healing. They create space between what happens and the meaning fear immediately gives it. Inside that space, wisdom can speak. My beloved child, the misunderstanding is beginning to loosen. You are learning that not every pause is abandonment. Not every closed expression is anger. Not every delay is disapproval. Not every unanswered question is punishment. You are learning to stop chasing reassurance long enough to notice what your choices reveal. Because while you were measuring silence, heaven was noticing something else. It was noticing your response. In the next part, my beloved child, I will show you why the world measured your outcomes while heaven paid attention to what you chose when goodness stopped rewarding you. My beloved child, I told you that while you were measuring silence, heaven was noticing something else. It was noticing your response. The world usually measures what can be displayed. It asks what you completed, what you earned, what you built, and how quickly you moved ahead. It notices the visible result, but I was watching the choice beneath the result. I was watching what you did when doing the right thing stopped bringing immediate comfort, recognition, or reward. My beloved child, anyone can remain patient when patience is praised. Anyone can appear generous when generosity improves their image. Anyone can speak kindly when kindness is returned. But hidden responses reveal something deeper. They show what you choose when no audience is present, when no one keeps a record, and when the cost belongs only to you. That is where character becomes visible. Not because suffering makes you more valuable, because pressure often exposes what comfort can conceal. My beloved child, the first hidden response was your refusal to become careless with what was right. There were moments when you could have taken the easier path. You could have answered disrespect with humiliation. You could have kept what did not belong to you, changed the story, or allowed another person to carry the blame. But something within you resisted. You chose integrity, even when integrity felt inconvenient. But I saw the private decision. I saw that you still wanted your life to agree with truth when no reward was attached. My beloved child, remember the widow who placed her small offering into the treasury. The point was not that she should empty herself carelessly. The point was that heaven does not measure only by visible size. It sees motive, circumstance, sacrifice, and the heart that remains hidden from the crowd. In the same way, some of your smallest choices carried more meaning than the achievements others celebrated. My beloved child, this does not mean every sacrifice was wise. There were times when you kept saying yes because you were afraid that a no would make you unwanted. There were times when generosity became self-abandonment. I am not asking you to repeat that. A faithful response can include a boundary. It can include refusing to carry what another person must learn to carry for themselves. Truth and love are not enemies. My beloved child, the second hidden response was the way you noticed the pain of others. When a friend struggled, you made space. You carried concern into prayer even when no one knew you were doing it. This sensitivity became one of the ways compassion moved through your life. But somewhere along the way, compassion became uneven. You gave others permission to need support while denying that permission to yourself. You told people to rest, then judged your own exhaustion. You encouraged honesty, then shortened your own story. You offered presence, then disappeared when your pain became difficult to hide. My beloved child, that imbalance was not the design. You were never meant to become a container that receives everyone else's sorrow but never opens. You were never asked to prove strength by suffering alone. Compassion must be allowed to move in both directions. The same care you extend can also be received. The same patience you offer can be practiced toward your own healing. Asking for help does not weaken your calling. It keeps your love from becoming resentment. My beloved child, heaven noticed not only that you cared, it noticed that even after disappointment, your heart kept searching for a way to remain human. You were hurt, but you still noticed the lonely person in the room. You were tired, but you still cared whether your words caused harm. You were misunderstood, but you did not completely lose the desire to understand others. This does not make every response perfect. It means pain did not gain permanent ownership of your heart. My beloved child, the third hidden response was your hope. You tried to put it down. There were seasons when you said, "I am finished," expecting anything good. You were tired of disappointment arriving after sincere prayer. You were tired of rebuilding. You were tired of telling yourself to keep believing. For a moment you meant it. Then something small happened. You noticed morning light across a wall. You spoke one honest sentence to me. You imagined a healthier future for a few seconds. Hope returned quietly, not confidently, but enough to keep the line open. My beloved child, you mistook this returning hope for weakness. You thought you were refusing to accept reality, but hope is not denial when it can look honestly at pain. Hope says, "This hurt me, but pain is not the only thing that can still happen." Hope says, "I do not know the outcome, but I will not let fear write every page in advance." Hope does not guarantee the door you want. It keeps your heart available to wisdom, support, repair, and possibilities you cannot yet see. My beloved child, your hope survived long winters. There were months when nothing visible changed. There were mornings when getting up felt like the only victory available. There were prayers that contained more exhaustion than confidence. Still, you kept one small opening inside you. You did not always call it faith. Sometimes it looked like making breakfast. Sometimes it looked like answering one necessary message. Sometimes it looked like attending an appointment, taking a walk, or telling a trusted person the truth. These ordinary acts kept you connected to life. My beloved child, I do not glorify the pain you carried. I do not call every difficult season necessary. Some wounds came from human choices, broken systems, loss, and circumstances that should never be minimized. But even there, your responses mattered. They did not purchase my love. They did not force a reward. They revealed where grace was still working within you. They showed that fear, disappointment, and exhaustion were not the only voices available. My beloved child, look at the three responses together. You kept choosing integrity when no one checked. You carried compassion even while learning that your own needs also deserved care. You allowed hope to return after long periods of silence. These responses were quieter than the outcomes you wanted. That is why you overlooked them. You were searching for proof in open doors, public recognition, and completed promises. But the deeper evidence was already present in the way you kept returning to truth. My beloved child, this is what heaven measured. Not a flawless record, not constant strength, not endless giving. It measured the direction of your return. It noticed what you chose when nobody rewarded the choice. It noticed when you repaired instead of hiding. It noticed when you rested instead of punishing yourself. It noticed when hope rose again without certainty. And now you are ready to understand why so much of this happened away from applause. In the next part, my beloved child, I will show you what the quiet audition truly revealed, why the empty stage exposed essence more clearly than performance, and how hidden years formed something visible results could never create. My beloved child, I told you that heaven noticed what you chose when nobody rewarded the choice. You were standing on what felt like an empty stage. The lights seemed dim, the room felt quiet, but the quiet did not erase what was forming. It revealed what noise had once hidden. My beloved child, performance depends on being seen. Essence appears when there is nothing left to impress. When people are watching, it is possible to shape behavior around their approval. You can sound patient while resentment grows underneath. You can seem generous because gratitude is expected. But when the room is empty, the deeper truth rises. What do you choose when no one will congratulate you? Who are you when the visible reward disappears? My beloved child, this is what I mean by the quiet audition. It was not proof that every hardship had been arranged for examination. Some pain came through loss, injustice, human choices, and circumstances that should never have happened. Yet even within those seasons, your hidden responses revealed what grace was shaping. The empty stage did not create your value. It removed some of the distractions that kept you from seeing what was already growing. My beloved child, you often thought obscurity meant irrelevance. You watched other people move forward while your own efforts seemed buried. Comparison whispered that your hidden life was producing nothing. But a seed beneath soil does not look productive to the eye. Its first work is downward. It forms roots before it carries visible fruit. My beloved child, hidden formation is slow because it reaches places public success can avoid. Success can teach skill. Obscurity can expose motive. Recognition can reveal opportunity. Silence can reveal dependency. When applause is absent, you discover whether your identity can remain standing without constant confirmation. When results are delayed, you discover whether you can act from conviction rather than desperation. But they shape the way you carry anything that may later become visible. My beloved child, remember how Moses spent years tending sheep in a wilderness far from the life he once imagined. The ordinary days did not look like preparation for responsibility. He watched the same animals. He lived outside the attention of powerful people. Yet those years taught him patience, attentiveness, and the humility of caring for living things that could not praise him. The wilderness did not make him worthy of love. It gave hidden qualities room to deepen before larger responsibility arrived. My beloved child, your quiet years also contained lessons no platform could teach. You learned how quickly pride can enter good work. You learned that being needed is not the same as being loved. You learned that a crowded schedule can hide an empty heart. You learned that helping everyone can become another way of avoiding your own healing. You learned that silence can feel threatening when identity still depends on reassurance. These lessons were not punishments. They were invitations to become more honest. My beloved child, there were days when you performed even for yourself. You told yourself that everything was fine because admitting exhaustion felt dangerous. You called overworking dedication. You called emotional distance strength. You called constant availability kindness. You used spiritual language to avoid naming fear. But the empty stage made those disguises harder to maintain. When no public result arrived, you had to ask why you were still doing what you were doing. That question was uncomfortable. It was also merciful. My beloved child, the quiet audition exposed both beauty and weakness. It revealed your integrity. It also revealed your need for approval. It revealed compassion. It also revealed how easily compassion became self-neglect. It revealed hope. It also revealed how frightened you were to hope openly. This was not a verdict against you. It was a clearer mirror. Grace does not show you truth to humiliate you. Grace shows you truth so healing can become specific. My beloved child, you were not being asked to become impressive in the dark. You were learning to become integrated. Integrated means the person you present and the person you are becoming no longer live in separate rooms. It means your kindness does not disappear when no one notices. It means your boundaries do not collapse when someone disapproves. It means your prayers can contain doubt without becoming dishonest. It means your values remain present even when the outcome is uncertain. This is essence becoming steadier than performance. My beloved child, some of your most important growth happened in moments that looked uneventful. You paused before sending the angry reply. You admitted that you needed rest. You chose not to repeat private information that had been trusted to you. You returned money that could have gone unnoticed. You kept a promise after the excitement was gone. You asked forgiveness without knowing whether it would repair the relationship. No crowd saw these moments, but they shaped the kind of person you were becoming. My beloved child, do not turn this into another reason to glorify isolation. You need community. You need encouragement. You need people who can see your effort and remind you that you are not alone. The quiet audition was never meant to teach you that support is weakness. It taught you that support cannot become the only source of identity. Encouragement can strengthen you. It should not have to create you from nothing. Your belonging must rest somewhere more stable than another person's changing attention. My beloved child, the empty stage also taught you what you could release. You could release the need to explain every choice. You could release the habit of announcing every good deed. You could release the pressure to make pain look meaningful before you had processed it. You could release the belief that being unseen meant being useless. You could allow some growth to remain private. Not everything sacred needs an audience. Some changes become stronger when they are practiced quietly, before they are spoken publicly. My beloved child, this is why the lights seem to go out. Not because my love withdrew. Not because your future was canceled, but because you were learning to see without depending on the spotlight. You were learning to hear conviction beneath applause and criticism. You were learning that essence is not created by attention. It is revealed through repeated choices, and those choices were forming a life that could remain honest in both hidden and visible places. My beloved child, now you understand what the quiet audition revealed. It showed that your life was not empty when the room was quiet. It showed that integrity, compassion, and hope were still present beneath disappointment. It also showed the places where fear, shame, and approval still needed healing. But there is something else you must understand before we go further. You did not pass these years by remaining perfect. You stumbled. You withdrew. You became bitter at times. You doubted what you once believed. Yet something kept bringing you back. In the next part, my beloved child, I will show you why your return mattered more than perfection, and why the walk back toward truth revealed more than a flawless performance ever could. My beloved child, I told you that you did not pass those quiet years by remaining perfect. You stumbled, you withdrew, you said things you regretted, you allowed disappointment to harden your voice. There were days when prayer felt empty and hope felt foolish. You wondered whether those moments canceled everything good that had been forming. But I was not measuring a flawless performance. I was watching the direction of your return. My beloved child, perfection would have hidden nothing because perfection was never available to you. You are human. You become tired. You misunderstand. You react before you listen. You sometimes protect yourself in ways that wound another person. Grace does not pretend these things do not matter. Grace gives you a way to face them without turning failure into your permanent name. The question was never whether you would fall. The question was what you would do after you recognized where you had landed. My beloved child, there were times when bitterness felt like shelter. You entered it because anger seemed stronger than grief. You told yourself you no longer cared. You replayed the injustice until resentment became familiar. For a while you stayed there, but you did not build your final home inside it. Something kept disturbing the darkness, a memory of who you wanted to be, a quiet conviction, a desire to stop carrying poison into every new relationship. You began walking back, sometimes slowly, sometimes ashamed, sometimes unsure whether you would be welcomed. My beloved child, that walk back mattered. It mattered when you apologized without knowing whether the other person would accept it. It mattered when you admitted that your version of the story was incomplete. It mattered when you stopped defending a reaction that had caused harm. It mattered when you asked for help because your own strength was no longer enough. Return is not weakness. Return is courage. Choosing truth after pride has already invested in the wrong direction. My beloved child, remember Peter after he denied knowing me. He had spoken with confidence before the pressure came. Then fear exposed what confidence had covered. He failed publicly. He wept bitterly. Yet his story did not end beside that fire. I met him again. I asked him to bring love, responsibility, and care into the place where shame wanted him to disappear. His failure was real. So was his return. Grace did not erase accountability. Grace restored relationship and gave him another faithful step. My beloved child, you have often believed that one failure revealed your whole identity. You said, I lost control, so I must be dangerous. I quit, so I must be weak. I doubted, so I must have no faith. I returned to an old pattern, so nothing has changed. But one moment can reveal an area needing healing without defining your entire life. A chapter can be painful without becoming the title of the whole book. You are allowed to learn without declaring yourself hopeless. My beloved child, the walk back is rarely dramatic. Sometimes it begins by answering the message you avoided. Sometimes it begins by returning to an appointment. Sometimes it begins by putting away the habit that numbed you for one evening. Sometimes it begins with a sentence whispered in the dark. I do not know how to fix everything, but I am willing to tell the truth. That sentence may not look powerful, but honesty creates a doorway that pretending keeps closed. My beloved child, return does not mean returning to every person or every place. Some relationships are unsafe. Some environments continue to violate dignity, truth, or well-being. You can return to integrity without returning to harm. You can forgive without reopening access. You can release revenge while maintaining a boundary. You can face your part without carrying responsibility for another person's choices. The destination of return is not always the old relationship. The destination is truth, wisdom, safety, and a heart no longer ruled by what happened. My beloved child, there were seasons when you returned again and again. You promised to change, then repeated the pattern. You began healing, then avoided the work. You rested, then returned to overworking. You spoke honestly, then shrank when someone disapproved. You became frustrated with the repetition. But growth often travels in circles that slowly widen. You may meet the same fear again while responding with slightly more awareness, more support, and less delay. That is still movement. Do not despise gradual change because it does not look like instant victory. My beloved child, I noticed the distance between your fall and your return becoming shorter. You began recognizing shame before it controlled an entire week. You caught resentment before it shaped every conversation. You asked for help sooner. You apologized with fewer excuses. You allowed rest before collapse. These changes were not loud, but they showed that truth was becoming easier for you to choose. The direction was changing even while the process remained unfinished. My beloved child, return also means returning to what you once knew about love. Pain told you that tenderness was foolish. Betrayal told you that trust was always dangerous. Failure told you that effort was pointless. Yet you kept finding small ways to remain open. You listened to someone without assuming the worst. You allowed a safe person to know more of your story. You tried again with better boundaries. You prayed honestly instead of pretending certainty. Each act was a return to the person fear had tried to bury. My beloved child, do not confuse return with self-punishment. You do not need to replay every mistake until exhaustion feels like payment. You do not need to reject joy because someone else was hurt by your past behavior. Make repair where possible. Accept consequences. Learn new patterns. Then allow grace to move you forward. Guilt can point toward responsibility. Shame insists that movement is forbidden. I am teaching you to recognize the difference. My beloved child, your record was never a collection of perfect days. It was a story of repeated return. You returned after anger. You returned after doubt. You returned after hiding. You returned after trying to live without hope. Sometimes you came confidently. Sometimes you came crawling through questions. But you came. Even when you felt unworthy, you still turned toward truth instead of allowing failure to become your identity. The line between us bent under pressure, yet it did not fully close. That persistence revealed something achievement could never show. My beloved child, this is why your return mattered more than perfection. Perfection would have given you nothing to repair, nothing to learn, and no need to receive mercy. Return taught you humility. It taught you that strength can ask forgiveness. It taught you that belonging can survive honest confession. It taught you that one wrong direction does not remove the possibility of a faithful next step. And now you are ready to see the pattern more clearly. In the next part, my beloved child, I will show you 5 signs that marked your hidden life signs, woven through your integrity, compassion, hope, unfinished seasons, and the conversation with me that never completely ended. My beloved child, I told you that 5 signs were woven through your hidden life. They did not appear as trophies. They appeared in ordinary decisions, unfinished seasons, private pain, and the conversation with me that never fully ended. You overlooked them because you were searching for something louder. But these signs were already telling the truth about what grace had been forming within you. My beloved child, the first sign was your refusal to abandon what was right when no one was watching. You had opportunities to take the shortcut. You could have changed the story to protect your image. You could have answered cruelty with greater cruelty and called it justice. You could have neglected a responsibility because no one would have known, yet something within you resisted. You did not always choose perfectly, but again and again you felt the pull toward integrity. You wanted your private life to agree with the person you claimed to be. That desire mattered. My beloved child, integrity without witnesses is different from performance. Performance asks, who will notice? Integrity asks what remains true when nobody notices. You returned what was not yours. You protected information entrusted to you. You kept a promise after the excitement disappeared. You stopped yourself before sending words intended only to wound. These choices did not make headlines, but they revealed that approval was not the only force directing your life. The second sign was your sensitivity to the weight other people carried. You noticed changes in a voice. You recognized the smile hiding exhaustion. You stayed after others left because someone needed to be heard. You remembered details people assumed everyone had forgotten. Compassion moved through you quietly. But that gift became tangled with an old fear. You believed your purpose was to carry others while hiding your own pain. My beloved child, you became skilled at saying, I am fine. You could comfort someone while your own heart felt unsteady. You could offer wise words that you struggled to practice for yourself. You told other people to rest, ask for help, and stop blaming themselves. Then you returned home and denied yourself the same mercy. That imbalance was not holiness. It was a wound teaching you that love had to be earned through usefulness. My beloved child, I am untangling compassion from self-abandonment. You can care deeply without becoming responsible for every outcome. You can listen without carrying another person's entire life home inside your body. You can help and still have limits. You can receive support without becoming less generous. Compassion becomes healthier when it flows in both directions. The third sign was hope that kept returning. There were seasons when you tried to bury it. You said you were finished, expecting change. You told yourself that hoping only created another opportunity for disappointment. You lowered your expectations and called it wisdom, yet hope kept finding small openings. A song softened you. A conversation reminded you that another way of living was possible. A morning arrived when the heaviness was not quite as strong. You whispered one more prayer. My beloved child, hope did not always return as confidence. Sometimes it returned as curiosity. What if this is not the end? Sometimes it returned as responsibility. I will take care of what is in my hands today. Sometimes it returned as connection. I will tell one safe person that I am struggling. These were not dramatic victories. They were small flames protected from the wind. They kept your inner life from closing completely. My beloved child, hope is not pretending that pain is harmless. It is not declaring that every desire will be fulfilled exactly as imagined. Hope looks honestly at uncertainty and refuses to let fear become the only possible future. It leaves room for guidance, healing support, and new understanding. The fact that hope returned did not mean you were naive. It meant disappointment had not gained final authority over you. The fourth sign was your long history of almost. The opportunity that nearly opened. The relationship that almost became secure. The plan that reached the edge of completion and then changed. The progress that seemed close enough to touch before circumstances shifted. You began to see almost as evidence that something was wrong with you. You wondered whether you were unlucky, unworthy, or always one step behind. My beloved child, I will not tell you that every almost was a blessing being reserved for a later date. Some opportunities were simply not sustainable. Some relationships lacked the honesty or compatibility needed to continue. Some plans ended because conditions changed. Some doors closed through decisions made by other people. You do not need to invent a hidden promise behind every disappointment in order to believe your life still has meaning. But the almost seasons taught you something. They exposed how tightly you connected one outcome to your worth. They revealed how quickly you called delay rejection and change failure. They also taught you to examine, adapt, grieve, and continue. Almost did not always mean wait. Sometimes it meant release, sometimes revise, sometimes learn, sometimes choose another road. The lesson was not that every lost thing would circle back. The lesson was that an unfinished outcome did not have the authority to finish you. The fifth sign was the open line between you and me. Your prayers were not always formal. Sometimes they were complaints spoken while driving. Sometimes they were one sentence before sleep. Sometimes gratitude appeared when something small became easier. Sometimes you had no words, only a quiet turning within. You doubted. You became frustrated. You asked why I seemed distant, yet the conversation never fully ended. My beloved child, even your questions kept the line open. A person who has completely stopped caring does not keep asking where I am. Your anger sometimes carried hidden longing. Your disappointment revealed that relationships still mattered. You did not always feel faithful, but you continued returning with what was true, not polished words, not borrowed certainty. Your real confusion needed gratitude and hope. That honesty became prayer. My beloved child, hold all 5 signs together. Integrity, when no one checked. Compassion that now must include your own well-being. Hope returning after long winters. Almost seasons that taught you not to attach identity to one result. And a conversation with me that bent under pressure, but did not completely break. These signs do not prove that you are more special than everyone else. They reveal a pattern of grace, endurance, and return within an ordinary human life. They also show why your hidden years cannot be reduced to wasted time. Something was being practiced in you through repeated decisions. You were learning to remain honest without applause, compassionate without disappearing, hopeful without denying reality, and connected without pretending certainty. And now, my beloved child, we must move closer to the moments themselves. There were particular windows when betrayal, depletion, and overwhelming pressure revealed your character with unusual clarity. In the next part, I will show you the witness windows, not to glorify what hurt you, but to help you recognize the choices that kept pain from deciding who you would become. My beloved child, I told you that there were particular windows when your hidden life became easier to see. Not because pain made you more valuable, not because suffering earned my attention. You were already loved. But pressure revealed the choices forming beneath the surface. These moments became witness windows. They were brief openings through which your character could be seen with unusual clarity. My beloved child, the first witness window was betrayal. Someone you trusted handled your loyalty carelessly. They misunderstood you, exposed something private, used your kindness, or left when honesty became inconvenient. The wound did not come from a stranger. It came from someone whose closeness had taught your heart to relax. That is why it reached so deeply. My beloved child, anger rose because something real had been violated. You imagined becoming colder. You rehearsed the words that could make them feel what you felt. For a time you pulled back. You questioned your judgment. You wondered whether tenderness had made you foolish. But somewhere inside the hurt, another choice remained available. You did not have to become cruel in order to become wise. My beloved child, grace did not require you to pretend the betrayal was harmless. It did not require immediate reconciliation. It did not ask you to reopen a door that safety and truth needed closed. You could name what happened. You could establish distance. Yet you slowly refused to let another person's behavior decide the permanent temperature of your heart. You allowed boundaries to grow without allowing hatred to become your identity. That response revealed character. It showed that wisdom could protect your heart without teaching it to lose all tenderness. My beloved child, Joseph knew what it was to be harmed by those who should have protected him. His brothers changed the direction of his life through jealousy and violence. Years later, when power rested in his hands, he had the ability to answer harm with harm. His wisdom did not erase what they had done, but he chose not to reproduce their cruelty. Healing becomes visible when pain no longer receives permission to make every decision. My beloved child, the second witness window appeared when you gave while feeling depleted. There was a season when someone needed your time, presence, encouragement, or practical help. You did not have an abundance of energy. Still, compassion moved you toward them. You listened. You showed up. Others may have seen only a small act. They did not see what it cost you to become present while carrying your own heaviness. My beloved child, the value of that moment was not found in how much you gave. It was found in the honesty of the love behind it. Remember the boy who offered loaves and fish when the crowd was hungry. Yet what was placed willingly into my hands became part of caring for many. The story does not teach you to empty yourself without wisdom. It teaches that love is not measured only by visible size. My beloved child, I also saw where your giving became unhealthy. You sometimes helped because you feared being unnecessary. You confused exhaustion with devotion. Then resentment appeared, and you felt ashamed of it. But resentment was often information. It was telling you that a boundary had been crossed, a need had been ignored, or a yes had been spoken without freedom. Healthy giving leaves room for truth. My beloved child, you are learning that generosity does not require self-erasure. You can offer care and still ask what you realistically have to give. You can say, I want to help, but I cannot carry all of this. You can rest before answering. Compassion becomes more sustainable when it includes wisdom, consent, and limits. My beloved child, the third witness window came during a night or season of overwhelming pressure. You reached a place where your thoughts became heavy, your body felt exhausted, and the future seemed difficult to imagine. You did not need a dramatic speech. You needed safety. You needed connection. Perhaps you sent one message. Perhaps you sat near someone trustworthy. Perhaps you prayed only, help me take the next safe step. Perhaps you agreed to seek professional support instead of carrying everything alone. That choice mattered. My beloved child, I will not romanticize that night. I will not call anguish a crown or make crisis sound like a credential. Pain is not proof that you are chosen. You deserved support, care, and protection. What revealed character was not the intensity of the suffering. It was the small movement toward life truth and connection within it. You allowed another hour to pass. You accepted help. You stayed near what was safe. You did not let the darkest thought become the only voice in the room. My beloved child Elijah once collapsed beneath exhaustion and fear. He could no longer imagine continuing. I did not begin with accusation. Care came first. Food, water, rest, then direction. That order matters. When the mind and body are overwhelmed, support is not a lack of faith. Rest is not surrender. Medical care, counseling, trusted community, and practical protection can become part of how life is preserved. You do not have to prove devotion by facing darkness without help. My beloved child, look at these witness windows together. Betrayal revealed whether wisdom could grow without cruelty. Depletion revealed whether compassion could remain while boundaries became healthier. Overwhelming pressure revealed whether you could move toward safety instead of deeper isolation. None of these moments made you superior to anyone. They revealed where grace was meeting your humanity. They showed that pain could influence you without receiving complete ownership of your future. My beloved child, perhaps you still remember what you did wrong in those seasons more clearly than what you did right. You remember the angry sentence, but not the apology. You remember disappearing, but not the moment you returned. You remember the resentment, but not the boundary you finally learned to speak. You remember feeling frightened, but not the courage it took to tell someone the truth. Shame edits the story until failure fills the whole frame. Grace restores the missing details. My beloved child, these windows were not performances arranged for heaven. They were real life, messy, unplanned, human. You did not know anyone was measuring the direction of your response. That is why the choices mattered. They were not designed to improve your image. They came from the deeper struggle between fear and truth, retaliation and wisdom, isolation and connection. Again and again, you found some way back toward what could preserve life and integrity. My beloved child, now another question rises. If I saw these moments, why did so much of the season still feel silent? Why did understanding come slowly? Why were you allowed to believe for so long that nothing was being formed? There is no shallow answer that can carry every experience. But silence can hold more than one meaning. In the next part, my beloved child, I will show you 3 hidden layers silence may contain, including uncertainty, protection, and the slow formation of an identity that does not depend entirely on applause. My beloved child, I told you that silence can hold more than one meaning. After betrayal, depletion, and overwhelming pressure, you asked why understanding came so slowly. There is no single answer that fits every quiet season. But there are 3 layers you must learn to recognize, not as formulas, not as excuses for pain, as possibilities that can help you stop treating silence like condemnation. My beloved child, the first layer is uncertainty. Sometimes silence simply means that you do not yet know. You do not have enough information. Fear hates uncertainty because uncertainty cannot be controlled, so fear fills the empty space quickly. My beloved child, uncertainty is uncomfortable, but discomfort is not a verdict. You are allowed to say, I do not know what this means yet. It keeps you from turning one unanswered question into an entire story against yourself. It gives you space to gather facts, seek counsel, pray, rest, and wait before reacting. Wisdom often begins when you stop pretending that fear is certainty. My beloved child, remember the disciples during the storm. They saw waves entering the boat while I seemed quiet. Their fear interpreted my rest as indifference. They asked whether I cared that they were in danger, but their conclusion about my care was not the whole truth. They could not yet see how the moment would end. They lacked perspective. My beloved child, you have done the same. You saw a delay and decided love had withdrawn. You saw confusion and assumed you had failed. You saw another person's distance and made yourself responsible before asking what was true. I am teaching you to separate what happened from the meaning fear attaches to it. The first layer of silence asks you to remain humble enough to admit what you do not yet know. The second layer can be protection. Not every delay is protection. Not every closed door hides a better one. But there are times when quick access would place weight on a foundation that is not ready. There are times when visibility arrives before character skill support or healing can carry it safely. What looks like denial may sometimes be time needed for preparation, clarity, or a wiser decision. My beloved child, you have asked for opportunities that matched your longing but not yet your capacity. You wanted the relationship before you could recognize healthy love. You wanted influence before you had learned to hear correction without collapsing. You wanted responsibility while still believing rest was failure. You wanted to be seen while your identity depended heavily on how others responded. An early yes might have intensified wounds you had not yet named. Delay did not always mean punishment. Sometimes it gave you room to become safer inside what you were requesting. My beloved child, considered David after he was anointed. The oil touched his head long before he carried public responsibility. He returned to ordinary work. He served. He waited. He learned in fields, caves, conflict, friendship, and loss. The announcement did not remove the process. Calling and readiness did not arrive on the same afternoon. The hidden years did not mean the word over him had disappeared. They gave his inner life time to develop beneath it. My beloved child, protection can also look like interruption. A plan slows because your body needs care. A relationship pauses because truth must be addressed. An opportunity changes because the support around it is weak. You may feel frustrated, but frustration does not prove the pause is wrong. Ask whether moving faster would require dishonesty, exhaustion, secrecy, or abandonment of wisdom. What is healthy may stretch you. It should not require you to betray your conscience in order to keep it. My beloved child, the third layer is formation. This is the deepest layer because it does not always change the circumstance first. It changes the person standing within the circumstance. During quiet seasons, you began learning who you were without constant applause. You discovered how quickly approval controlled your mood. You noticed how much energy went into explaining yourself. You saw how easily another person's silence could decide your worth. The quiet exposed these dependencies so they could be healed. My beloved child, formation is not glamorous. It happens through repetition. One honest prayer. One boundary spoken without anger. One day of rest accepted without earning it. One apology made without defending yourself. One choice to ask for help. These actions appear small, but they lay new material beneath your identity. You begin to know yourself through practiced truth rather than borrowed reflection. You become less dependent on a room agreeing with you before you can remain grounded. My beloved child, this does not mean isolation is holy. You need encouragement. You need wise people who can remind you of truth when your own thoughts become distorted. You need community scripture, prayer, counseling, and practical support. The goal is not to become a person who needs nobody. The goal is to stop making another person's changing attention the foundation of your existence. Support can strengthen identity. It should not be forced to create identity from nothing. My beloved child, silence also revealed the difference between performance and presence. Performance asks, am I doing enough to be accepted? Presence asks, what is true here and how can I respond faithfully? Performance rushes to fill every pause. Presence can remain still long enough to listen. Performance needs visible proof. Presence can take one responsible step without knowing the whole outcome. You are being invited out of constant evaluation and into deeper relationship. My beloved child, I know there were silences that hurt. There were prayers that seemed to meet an empty room. There were losses that still do not have a satisfying explanation. I will not reduce them to lessons or claim every wound was necessary. Grief deserves honesty. Questions deserve room. Faith does not require you to call everything good. It asks whether you can bring what is unfinished into relationship without deciding that unfinished means abandoned. My beloved child, hold the three layers together. Silence may contain uncertainty that asks for patience. It may contain protection that slows what could arrive too early. It may contain formation that builds strength beneath visible life. Sometimes more than one layer is present. Sometimes none can be identified clearly. In those moments, return to what remains available. Tell the truth, seek safety, receive support, care for what is in your hands. Do not let mystery become permission to condemn yourself. My beloved child, the quiet was never proof that you had disappeared from my sight. It was not a final sentence over your future. Even when you did not understand the season, your responses were shaping something steady within you. You were learning to stand without borrowing every answer from applause. You were learning to remain honest without immediate confirmation. And in the next part, my beloved child, I will show you what grew in that darkness. I will show you how unborrowed identity began to form, why borrowed confidence collapses when attention changes, and how grace taught you to know who you are without begging every room to tell you. My beloved child, I told you that the quiet was teaching you to stand without borrowing every answer from applause. This is where unborrowed identity began to grow. It grew in places where the usual mirrors were missing, and you had to discover whether truth could remain true without being reflected back by another person. My beloved child, borrowed identity depends on response. It rises when people approve. It falls when they misunderstand. It feels strong when the room is warm and fragile when attention changes. You know this pattern because you lived inside it. A compliment could lift you for hours. A delayed reply could make you question your worth. One person's disappointment could become a verdict over your whole life. You were not only listening to feedback, you were asking feedback to tell you who you were. My beloved child, there is nothing wrong with encouragement. You need kind words. You need wise correction. You need relationships that see your effort and remind you of truth. But encouragement becomes dangerous when it must create your identity every morning. If another person's voice builds the structure, another person's silence can pull it down. Then the strength disappears because it was never rooted deeply within you. My beloved child, the hidden seasons exposed this dependence. When fewer people noticed you, you felt less real. When work went unrecognized, you questioned whether it mattered. When a relationship changed, you feared that the best parts of you had vanished with it. But your gifts did not disappear because someone stopped naming them. Your capacity for love did not end because another person failed to receive it. Your worth did not shrink because a room looked in another direction. Truth remained, even when the mirrors became quiet. My beloved child, remember David in the fields. His brothers were visible. They looked prepared. They stood where important decisions were being discussed. David was outside doing ordinary work that seemed unrelated to recognition. He cared for animals that could not praise him. He faced responsibility without an audience. Yet the field did not make him chosen, and being forgotten did not earn him a throne. The field simply revealed habits that public attention had not created. Courage, patience, attentiveness, the willingness to protect what had been entrusted to him. My beloved child, when Samuel asked whether another son remained, David was brought in from obscurity. The oil did not create his identity. It announced something that had been forming beyond the family's attention. But do not misunderstand the pattern. Not every forgotten person is being prepared for public greatness. Not every hidden season ends with a visible promotion. The deeper truth is more personal. Your identity can become steady before recognition comes, whether recognition ever comes or not. My beloved child, unborrowed identity does not mean you stop caring what anyone thinks. That would not be wisdom. Correction can protect you. Community can strengthen discernment. Unborrowed identity means feedback becomes information, not ownership. You can listen without surrendering your entire sense of self. You can admit fault without deciding you are worthless. You can receive praise without needing to live on it. You can be misunderstood without abandoning what you know is honest. My beloved child, this identity began forming each time you chose truth before reassurance. You held a boundary even when someone called you selfish. You rested while guilt accused you of laziness. You admitted that a relationship was unhealthy, even though loneliness urged you to deny it. You asked for help before you had impressive words to explain your need. Each choice moved identity away from performance and toward practiced truth. You were no longer only saying who you hoped to become, you were beginning to live from it. My beloved child, belonging came before achievement, though you struggled to believe it. You thought purpose would finally make you worthy. You imagined that success would silence shame. You hoped the right relationship would prove you were lovable. But no assignment can carry the burden of creating your value. No partner can constantly reassure every wound. No achievement can permanently answer a question that belongs deeper in the heart. You were loved before the work. You were mine before anyone knew your name. My beloved child, when belonging becomes the foundation, service changes. You no longer help only to secure a place. You help because love is available to give. You no longer lead to prove superiority. You lead to create clarity, safety, and responsibility. You no longer speak simply to be admired. You speak because truth may serve someone. Unborrowed identity does not make you larger than others. It makes you less dependent on becoming larger than others. It gives humility somewhere safe to stand. My beloved child, boundaries also become clearer when identity is not borrowed. You can say no without treating another person's discomfort as evidence of failure. You can say yes without using sacrifice to purchase closeness. You can leave a conversation that becomes harmful without needing to win it first. You can remain kind without remaining available to every demand. Identity rooted in truth does not need constant defense. It can be firm without becoming harsh. It can be open without becoming careless. My beloved child, there were still days when old mirrors called you back. You searched faces for approval. You explained too much. You changed a decision because someone became distant. You felt guilty for taking up space. Do not use these moments to declare that nothing changed. Roots deepen through repetition. A tree does not become stable in one afternoon. Each return to truth strengthens what fear once kept shallow. Each honest choice teaches your inner life that it can survive another person's changing response. My beloved child, unborrowed identity is not isolation. It is not refusing love. It is not pretending you need no one. It is the freedom to receive relationship as a gift rather than use it as proof that you exist. You can enjoy being seen without disappearing when you are overlooked. You can receive applause without confusing it with belonging. You can grieve rejection without turning rejection into your name. You can seek wise support while remembering that no human voice holds final authority over your worth. My beloved child, something steady grew in the darkness. You became more able to remain present when the room did not confirm you. You became more willing to face mistakes without collapsing into shame. You became less interested in impressing people who required you to abandon yourself. You began asking different questions. Not how do I make them approve, but what is true, what is loving, what is responsible, what keeps my conscience clear. Those questions became new mirrors. My beloved child, now you are ready to see why one ordinary choice carried such weight. Unborrowed identity was not revealed through a speech. It was revealed when goodness became costly, when honesty offered no advantage, and when faithfulness had no witness. In the next part, I will show you the full price moment, the quiet decision that revealed what grace had formed when you chose what was right without applause, benefit, or certainty. My beloved child, I told you that unborrowed identity was revealed when goodness became costly, honesty offered no advantage, and faithfulness had no witness. Now return to the question that has followed this message. What was the moment that revealed the truth? It was not the largest sacrifice of your life. It was not the day you appeared strongest. It was not the prayer that sounded most confident. It was not the achievement other people could measure. The moment was smaller, quieter, almost ordinary. That is why you nearly forgot it. My beloved child, there came a time when doing what was right required something from you. Kindness was no longer easy. Honesty did not protect your image. Faithfulness did not promise a visible return. One path offered relief, revenge, approval, or convenience. The other asked you to remain aligned with truth. No one was there to praise you. No one would have known if you chose differently. Still, you made the costly choice. This was your full price moment. My beloved child, full price does not mean you destroyed yourself for another person. It does not mean staying in danger or ignoring your limits. The price was not your well-being. The price was the temporary comfort you surrendered to remain honest. It was the satisfaction of retaliation you refused. It was the approval you risked by speaking a boundary. It was the shortcut you declined because your conscience could not travel with you. My beloved child, perhaps someone wounded you and expected you to answer from the wound. You had words that could have humiliated them. You knew where their weakness lived. For one moment, cruelty would have felt powerful. But you paused. You may still have been angry. Yet you refused to turn private knowledge into a weapon. The choice did not erase the betrayal. It revealed that betrayal had not gained ownership of your character. My beloved child, perhaps your full price moment appeared through honesty. You could have hidden a mistake. You could have adjusted the story so another person carried more blame. You could have remained silent and protected your reputation. Instead, you admitted what was yours. Your voice may have trembled. You may have feared losing trust. Still, you chose the truth because living divided inside yourself had become more costly than being exposed. That quiet confession revealed integrity. My beloved child, perhaps the moment came through faithfulness. You returned to a responsibility after the excitement disappeared. You kept a promise when no one was checking. You completed the small task. You cared for someone who could not improve your status. You continued practicing a gift before anyone noticed progress. Nothing dramatic happened afterward. There was no immediate reward. But you showed that your values did not exist only when they produced visible results. My beloved child Ruth also faced a full-price moment. She could not see the whole road ahead. Loyalty offered no guaranteed comfort. She stayed with Naomi and entered uncertainty with love. Her decision was not a transaction designed to purchase a future blessing. It revealed the heart she was carrying into the future. The later chapters did not make the earlier choice valuable. The earlier choice already mattered because love had become costly and she still chose love. My beloved child, this is what your moment revealed. It revealed that goodness in you was not merely performance. Performance asks, who is watching? Your choice happened when you believed nobody was. Performance calculates the return. Your choice accepted that there might be no return. Performance protects the image. Your choice protected integrity even when the image felt exposed. In that moment, grace became visible through an ordinary decision. My beloved child, I was not discovering something about you that I had never known. I knew your fears, wounds, strengths, and contradictions. The moment revealed the truth to you. It revealed what years of struggle had formed. You had feared that bitterness, fatigue, or failure had erased the person you once hoped to become, but the costly choice showed that truth still had a home within you. My beloved child, you may not feel proud when you remember the moment. Perhaps you remember the anger and everything you did imperfectly. Do not let perfection steal the meaning of what happened. A single honest response does not make you flawless. It shows that fear was not the only power operating within you. Even wounded, you could still choose love, wisdom, and conscience. My beloved child, there were likely many full-price moments. One when you refused to spread a story that would have damaged someone. One when you returned something nobody knew was missing. One when you apologized without demanding forgiveness. One when you asked for help instead of protecting the appearance of strength. One when you rested because continuing would have caused harm. One when you released a relationship without turning the ending into revenge. These moments may appear unrelated. Together they formed a pattern. My beloved child, the pattern did not purchase my love. You were already loved. It did not guarantee that every door would open. It did not place heaven in your debt. Faithfulness does not force reward. The value of the full price moment is deeper. It shows that your inner life is becoming less available for sale. Approval cannot buy every yes. Fear cannot dictate every decision. Pain cannot automatically turn you into the person who caused it. My beloved child, this is why the moment was easy to overlook. The world trains you to search for proof in scale. Large audiences, large results, large changes. But character is often revealed through something small enough to fit inside one private decision. A withheld sentence, a truthful admission, a boundary spoken calmly, a promise kept. These choices do not always change the whole circumstance. Sometimes they change the person who walks out of it. My beloved child, let this truth settle without turning it into pressure. You do not need to search every memory and prove that you passed a secret test. The purpose is not to perform hidden goodness for my approval. The purpose is to recognize that grace has been teaching you how to respond. You are learning to choose without bargaining. When the next choice comes, return to truth. Ask what is loving. Ask what is safe. Ask what is responsible. Then take the step you can take honestly. My beloved child, the moment you nearly forgot has now been named. Your full price moment was the place where doing right paid nothing visible, yet you chose it anyway. Not perfectly, not fearlessly, but sincerely. That choice revealed essence beneath performance identity, beneath applause and grace, beneath exhaustion. And now the story begins to turn. Hidden formation does not always remain hidden forever. Sometimes the first sign of change is not a dramatic breakthrough, but a new steadiness, a recovered voice, or an opportunity you can finally meet without abandoning yourself. In the next part, my beloved child, I will show you how the scene season began to emerge, and how to recognize movement without forcing signs, exaggerating promises, or mistaking excitement for readiness. My beloved child, I told you that hidden formation does not always remain hidden forever. Sometimes change begins without thunder. A conversation moves with less resistance. A decision that once terrified you becomes clearer. You speak one honest sentence and do not immediately apologize for existing. The scene season does not always arrive as public recognition. Often it begins as a new steadiness within you. You are still learning, but you no longer meet every opportunity as the person you were before the quiet years shaped you. My beloved child, the first sign is convergence. Things that once seemed scattered begin to connect. A skill you practiced privately becomes useful in an unexpected place. A relationship built slowly becomes a source of wise support. You may notice that conversations go further than they used to. An opportunity remains open long enough for you to examine it carefully. A responsibility appears that matches something already forming within you. This does not mean every unfinished hope is about to return. It means parts of your life may begin working together with greater coherence. My beloved child, convergence is not magic. It is often the meeting of preparation, timing, support, and responsible action. You learned, developed a boundary, practiced a gift, and became more honest about what you could carry. Then a moment arrived where those lessons became useful. But you know how many quiet choices came before it. A harvest seems fast only to the person who did not watch the roots grow. My beloved child, remember Esther. Her position did not automatically explain her purpose. A moment came when access, courage, counsel, and responsibility converged. She still had to prepare, listen, and act with care. Her opportunity did not remove risk. It created a moment where what had already been forming could serve others. In the same way, a scene season is not merely about being noticed. It is about becoming ready to use what has been entrusted to you. My beloved child, the second sign is recovered voice. For years you swallowed words because you feared conflict. You softened the truth until no one could understand what you needed. You waited for permission to name what was happening. Sometimes silence was wise. Other times fear convinced you that honesty would make you unwanted. Now your voice is changing. It is becoming calmer, clearer, and less desperate to control the response. My beloved child, recovered voice does not mean becoming louder than everyone else. It means speaking from a place that is less divided. You can say, "This hurt me," without trying to punish. You can say, "I need time," without inventing an excuse. You can say, "I was wrong," without collapsing into shame. You can say, "I cannot carry this," without calling yourself selfish. Your words carry weight because they no longer need to carry a performance. My beloved child, people may respond differently when your voice becomes grounded. Some will listen more carefully. Some will resist because your former silence benefited them. Do not measure the truth of your voice only by the response it receives. Listen to wise correction, but do not return to confusion simply because clarity makes another person uncomfortable. A recovered voice is not a weapon. It is a bridge between inner truth and responsible action. My beloved child, the third sign is that the hiding instinct begins to loosen. You spent years standing at the edge of your own life. You deflected compliments. You minimized your gifts before anyone could question them. You delayed beginning because visibility felt dangerous. Sometimes you were waiting to feel completely unafraid. That day rarely comes. Courage often begins while the hands are still trembling. My beloved child, you may notice yourself taking up more space. You share the idea instead of dismissing it. You allow a trustworthy person to see unfinished work. You accept appreciation without arguing against it. You enter the room without rehearsing why you do not belong there. These steps may look small, but for someone trained to hide, they show that identity is becoming steadier than fear. My beloved child, being seen does not require exposing everything. Some stories should be shared only with people who have earned trust. The seen season is not the end of boundaries. It is the end of believing that safety can only exist when you disappear. You are learning to be visible without becoming available to every opinion. My beloved child, do not force these signs. Do not call every open door a promise. Do not treat every compliment as confirmation. Do not decide that one smooth week means every struggle has ended. Excitement can be real without becoming prophecy. An opportunity can be good without becoming permanent. Readiness does not remove discernment, it strengthens it. You can move forward with hope while asking careful questions. My beloved child, the seen season may first be visible in the way you respond to delay. Before, one obstacle made you believe everything was collapsing. Now you pause, you gather information, you adjust without abandoning yourself. Before, a closed door became proof that you were unwanted. Now you can grieve it without turning it into identity. Before, criticism made you want to disappear. Now you ask whether it contains truth, then release what does not belong to you. This steadiness is movement. My beloved child, sometimes another person notices the change. A friend may tell you that you seem more peaceful. A coworker may trust your judgment. A family member may recognize that you no longer react in the same way. Receive these observations with gratitude, but do not depend on them. The deeper sign is what happens when no one comments. You still practice the boundary. You still use your voice. You still take the responsible step. My beloved child, there may also be grief as visibility increases. You may realize how long you lived beneath your capacity. You may remember opportunities fear kept you from accepting. Do not punish yourself with that knowledge. Use grief as information. Let it clarify what you want to practice now. A new season does not require hatred toward the old version of you. It requires compassion, honesty, and willingness. My beloved child, the movement you are recognizing is not proof that every promise has arrived. It is evidence that you can meet life differently. Convergence is teaching you to notice what is working together. Recovered voice is teaching you to speak with truth and humility. The loosening of hiding is teaching you to participate without abandoning wisdom. These changes create room for healthier opportunities, relationships, service, and creativity. But they also reveal another question. Why did so much effort once feel heavier than it appeared? Why did focus require such struggle? Why did your mind feel capable of more, while your daily energy seemed unable to reach it? In the next part, my beloved child, I will help you understand the strain beneath the surface through an honest look at exhaustion, fragmented attention, chronic stress, and the part of you that has been asking for restoration. My beloved child, I told you that there was a question beneath the movement you were beginning to recognize. Why did ordinary effort feel so heavy? Why did focus slip away even when the work mattered? Why did you sense more within you than your energy seemed able to reach? You called yourself lazy, scattered, inconsistent, or undisciplined. But those names were too harsh and too simple. Something deeper had been happening. My beloved child, think back to the child you once were. Before pressure taught you to hurry, before comparison taught you to measure every gift, before constant noise filled every quiet space, you could become absorbed in one idea. A cardboard box could become a house, a ship, or a kingdom. A question about the sky could hold your attention longer than an adult expected. Wonder came naturally. Imagination did not feel like work. You did not need permission to be curious. My beloved child, that child was not foolish. That child was alive to connection. The world had not yet trained every moment to become useful, productive, or impressive. Your mind could wander without immediately being called wasteful. You noticed color, sound, rhythm, and possibility. You asked questions because discovery felt good. Then life became louder, schedules tightened, screens multiplied. Stress entered rooms that once held play. Little by little, your attention began serving everything around you before it served what mattered within you. My beloved child, this is what I mean by the half-lit mind. It is not a diagnosis. It is not proof that something inside you is broken. It is an image for the way overload can leave many inner rooms difficult to reach. One hallway remains lit. It handles deadlines, messages, errands, bills, and the needs of other people. It keeps life moving. But creativity, deep focus, reflection, and desire may feel like rooms farther down the house still present, yet harder to enter. My beloved child, you became skilled at surviving in the lit hallway. You answered. You adapted. You learned how to appear capable while carrying invisible strain. Others saw competence. They did not see how much energy it took to gather your thoughts. They saw the finished task. They did not see how often your attention wandered, returned, and wandered again. They saw you functioning. They did not see the frustration of knowing you could think more clearly than your exhausted mind allowed. My beloved child, chronic stress can narrow attention. When the body expects danger, it becomes less interested in wonder and more interested in protection. It scans, it predicts, it rehearses, it remembers what went wrong. This response can help during danger, but when it remains active for too long, ordinary life begins to feel like a series of alarms. You sit down to create, but part of you is still checking for what might go wrong. You try to rest, but your thoughts continue working the night shift. My beloved child, digital noise can deepen that fragmentation. A message arrives, a headline appears. A short video pulls you into another person's urgency. Before one thought has completed, another thought is already demanding entry. Your attention becomes a room where everyone speaks at once. Then, when you finally turn toward the work that carries meaning, the room feels crowded and tired. You blame your character. But a distracted environment can produce distracted habits even in a capable person. My beloved child, this does not mean technology is evil. It means attention requires stewardship. What enters your mind repeatedly begins shaping what your mind expects. If every quiet pause is filled, silence can start feeling uncomfortable. If every task is interrupted, depth can begin feeling difficult. If every moment becomes consumption, creation may feel like pushing against a current. You are not weak because your attention has been trained by repetition. Repetition can also help train it differently. My beloved child, remember Martha moving quickly through many responsibilities while Mary remained present to what was before her. The story does not condemn service. It reveals how anxiety can divide attention until necessary work becomes inward pressure. You have lived that division. You cared for many things. Some were important. But your inner life became crowded by concerns that never rested. You were present everywhere, and present almost nowhere. My beloved child, the gap between inner capacity and outer output caused pain. You sensed ideas, but could not hold them long enough to shape them. You imagined projects, conversations, or changes that felt clear for one moment and distant the next. You knew you were capable of more, yet the bridge between vision and action felt unreliable. This gap was not proof of hidden greatness guaranteed to emerge. It was evidence that your attention, energy, habits, and support needed care. My beloved child, shame made the gap wider. Each unfinished task became evidence against you. Each abandoned plan joined a file labeled failure. You stopped approaching ideas with curiosity. You approached them expecting disappointment. Before beginning, you remembered every time you had not continued. This anticipation consumed energy that the work itself needed. Shame stood at the doorway of the dark rooms and told you there was nothing worth entering. Grace tells you to turn on one light at a time. My beloved child, restoration does not begin by yelling at yourself. It begins by noticing what drains you. It begins with sleep that is treated as necessary rather than optional. It begins with shorter periods of focused work. It begins with fewer interruptions. It begins with movement, nourishment, prayer, honest conversation, and professional support when the strain becomes too heavy to carry alone. Small practices can reopen spaces that pressure kept closed. My beloved child, do not demand that every dark room become bright in one day. Your mind is not a machine that failed you. It is part of a whole person who has carried responsibility, grief, expectation, and noise. Be patient. Curiosity returns more safely when it is not forced to prove anything. Creativity breathes when fear is not grading every attempt. Attention strengthens when you stop asking it to serve 10 directions at once. My beloved child, the half-lit mind was never the whole of you. The hallway was useful. It helped you survive, but it was not the entire house. There are rooms of reflection, play, wisdom, and imagination within you. They are not guaranteed to open through one method or one sudden experience. They can become more available through care, boundaries, practice, support, and time. You are not trying to become the child you once were. You are allowing wisdom to meet the curiosity that never completely disappeared. My beloved child, now you are ready to see how this hidden strain shaped an ordinary day. The fog at waking, the phone entering before your own thoughts, the effort required to appear competent, the brief ideas that vanish, the evening when the work that matters receives only what remains. In the next part, I will walk beside you through that day, not to shame you, but to witness the exhaustion you have carried and help you recognize where a gentler rhythm can begin. My beloved child, I told you that the half-lit mind was never the whole of you. Now I want to walk beside you through an ordinary day, the day that looked normal from the outside while requiring more strength than anyone could see. My beloved child, the day often began before your own thoughts had time to arrive. The alarm sounded. Your eyes opened, but your mind felt covered by a thin fog. Before you could notice what you needed, your hand reached for the phone. Within minutes, your attention had welcomed a crowd before you had welcomed yourself. You did not choose the direction of the morning. You inherited it from whatever appeared first on the screen. My beloved child, this was not a moral failure. By the time you stood up, part of your freshest attention had already been spent responding to lives that were not yours to carry. The hallway lights came on, and immediately everyone else began walking through. My beloved child, then responsibility took over. You prepared for work, you cared for family. From the outside, you looked capable. You knew how to function while tired. You knew how to smile while your thoughts were crowded. You knew how to complete the task without explaining how many times your attention slipped away and had to be pulled back. Competence became the clothing you wore over exhaustion. My beloved child, focus did not always arrive naturally. You had to summon it. You started a task, noticed a message, remembered another responsibility, and returned several minutes later trying to find the thought you had lost. You called yourself scattered, but your mind had been asked to hold too many open doors at once. Every unfinished concern continued whispering from the hallway. Even simple work had to compete with invisible noise. My beloved child, this is why an ordinary morning could feel like a hidden marathon. You were not only doing the visible work, you were managing distraction. You were regulating worry. You were monitoring how others felt. You were trying not to disappoint anyone. You were remembering unfinished conversations. You were carrying questions about money, health, family, purpose, and the future. The task in front of you was only one part of the labor. The rest of the labor happened silently inside your body. No one applauded the energy required simply to remain present. My beloved child, by the middle of the day, fatigue often became shame. You looked at what you had completed and thought it should not have taken so much from you. You compared your internal effort with another person's visible pace. You assumed they were stronger, more disciplined, or more capable, but you could not see their nervous system support responsibilities, sleep, or private struggles. Comparison used incomplete information to pronounce a complete verdict. Then shame consumed even more of the energy you needed. My beloved child, throughout the day, small flickers still appeared. An idea while washing your hands, a sentence while driving, a possible solution during a quiet moment. For a few seconds, one of the darker rooms seemed to open. You felt the person inside you who could create, write, build, organize, teach, or solve something meaningful. Then the phone rang. The next task arrived. The idea faded before you could hold it. You told yourself that a real idea would have stayed. But even a good seed can be lost when the ground is constantly disturbed. My beloved child, those flickers were not promises of hidden greatness. They were reminders that your attention still carried curiosity. Your creative life had not disappeared. It was competing with noise fatigue and constant reaction. You did not need to worship every passing idea. You needed enough quiet to notice which ideas returned, which ones served truth, and which ones deserved patient practice. Creativity rarely survives being ordered to prove your worth immediately. It often begins as something small that needs protection before evaluation. My beloved child, then evening came. This was when you hoped to return to yourself. You planned to read, pray, exercise, write, learn, or begin the project that mattered. But the version of you who arrived home was not the version who made the plan. The day had spent your attention. The hallway had served everyone. The deeper rooms remained waiting. You sat down for a moment and felt your body asking for relief rather than another demand. My beloved child, the screen became easy because it asked almost nothing from you. You did not always turn it on because you loved what you watched. You turned it on because it offered numbness without effort. One video became another. One episode became several. Time passed without asking you to decide, create, or feel too deeply. For a while, the noise covered the disappointment. Then the screen went dark, and the disappointment returned. Another evening had ended with the meaningful work untouched. My beloved child, guilt met you near bedtime. You remembered the promise you made that morning. Tomorrow I will do better. Tomorrow I will wake earlier. Tomorrow I will finally become disciplined. You built a new plan while lying inside the exhaustion that had defeated the old one. You rarely asked whether the plan respected your actual energy. You assumed the solution had to be more pressure. You believed a harsher voice would produce the strength that compassion had failed to produce. But harshness does not restore what overload has drained. My beloved child, sometimes one question appeared before sleep. Is this really all I am? You did not always say it aloud. It lived beneath the heaviness in your chest. You sensed a distance between the person you believed you could become and the life your days were producing. That distance felt like evidence of failure, but the question itself revealed that something within you had not accepted exhaustion as your final identity. A quieter part still remembered there were other rooms in the house. My beloved child, hear my answer. No, this is not all you are. But the life within you will not be restored through hatred of the tired person you have become. You need truth. You need rest. You need fewer open doors. You need help with burdens that were never meant to remain private. You need practices small enough to survive an ordinary day. You may also need medical or professional care when exhaustion, attention problems, anxiety, or low mood continue and interfere with daily life. Seeking that care is wisdom, not failure. My beloved child, your ordinary day carried hidden exhaustion, the fog at waking, the crowd entering through the phone, the invisible effort of appearing competent, the ideas that flickered and disappeared, the spent evening, the bedtime question. These were not proof that your hands were weak. They were signs that your tools, rhythms, expectations, and support needed honest examination. And in the next part, my beloved child, I will show you why the methods that failed did not prove you were incapable. The planner's routines, pressure, and repeated promises may have been asking an exhausted life for the wrong kind of strength. Wrong tools never proved weak hands. My beloved child, I told you that wrong tools never proved weak hands. You tried to repair exhaustion with pressure. You answered distraction with stricter schedules. You answered shame with louder promises. You believed that if you became disciplined enough, unfinished plans would stop accusing you. So you bought another notebook. You downloaded another app. You created another morning routine. For a few days, hope returned. Then ordinary life interrupted the plan, and the old verdict came back. You always do this. You never follow through. Something must be wrong with you. My beloved child, that verdict was incomplete. A method can fail without proving the person is incapable. A routine can overwhelm the season. A planner can organize without restoring energy. An alarm can wake the body while the mind remains overloaded. A course can provide information without providing support time or conditions needed for practice. The collapse of a system is not always the collapse of character. Sometimes the tool simply does not fit the hands trying to use it. My beloved child, remember David standing before Saul. He was offered armor designed for another man. The armor looked impressive. It represented protection and power, but David had not learned to move inside it. He tried it, recognized the mismatch, and took it off. He did not conclude he was weak because Saul's armor felt wrong. He returned to what he understood. The wrong armor did not mean weak hands. It meant another method was needed. My beloved child, you have worn many forms of borrowed armor. You tried someone else's perfect morning. You copied a schedule built for different responsibilities. You followed advice created for a person with more support, more sleep, fewer demands, or a different temperament. When their method did not fit your life, you blamed yourself instead of examining the design. You assumed success proved the tool was universal, and failure proved you were defective. But a tool can help one person and exhaust another. Wisdom asks, what supports your life? My beloved child, meditation may have helped someone you admired. You tried to sit still, but your thoughts became louder. You judged yourself for not feeling peaceful. Journaling promised clarity, but the blank page felt like another task. Exercise plans may have exceeded your energy. Productivity systems may have created more categories than progress. None of this means reflection, movement, or organization are useless. It means the form must serve the person, not force the person to serve the form. My beloved child, you often approach change with an all or nothing mind. If you could not complete the full routine, you did nothing. If you missed one day, you treated the week as ruined. If one attempt felt difficult, you assumed the practice was not for you. Perfection turns small interruptions into defeat. But sustainable change is rarely built through flawless streaks. It is built through return. 5 quiet minutes can matter. 1 page can matter. 1 walk can matter. 1 conversation can matter. The practice becomes stronger when missing it does not become a reason to abandon it. My beloved child, the wrong tools also asked willpower to solve every problem. Willpower has value. It can help you begin, but willpower becomes unreliable when sleep is poor, stress is high, emotions are heavy, and distractions remain everywhere. You cannot demand that determination carry what environment support and recovery should also carry. A person trying to focus beside constant interruption is not proving laziness. A person trying to heal in continual chaos is not proving weakness. Sometimes the surroundings must change before effort becomes effective. My beloved child, gentler systems can still be serious. Gentle does not mean careless. It means the practice respects reality. Place the phone outside briefly. Choose 1 important task instead of 12 urgent promises. Prepare what you need the night before. Work for a manageable stretch, then pause. Ask someone trustworthy to check in. Make the next step visible and small. A system becomes useful when it reduces friction instead of increasing shame. My beloved child, sleep is not a reward for finishing everything. It is part of the equipment needed to think, feel, and choose clearly. Food, water, movement, sunlight, and medical care are not separate from spiritual life. You are not a soul dragging an inconvenient body behind it. Your whole life needs attention. There may be times when persistent exhaustion, low mood, anxiety, or difficulty focusing requires support from a qualified professional. Seeking that help is not surrendering faith. It is responding responsibly to what is real. My beloved child, experimentation is not failure. Try a practice. Notice what happens. Adjust the length, time, place, or expectation. Keep what supports truth and release what becomes another performance. You do not need to remain loyal to a method because it helped someone else. You are allowed to learn how your attention works. Build rhythms around your responsibilities, health, relationships, and capacity. Humility is willing to change the plan when the plan is not serving the purpose. My beloved child, accountability can also become a better tool than private pressure. You tried to change in secrecy because you wanted to appear strong. Then one difficult day erased the structure. and no one knew you needed encouragement. A safe person can help you return without humiliation. They can remind you what you intended. They can notice patterns you cannot see. They can celebrate small progress without turning it into performance. Support does not do the work for you. It helps the work remain connected to relationship instead of isolation. My beloved child, stop rereading every unfinished project as evidence that you cannot create. Some projects were too large. Some belonged to a former season. Some lacked clear steps. Some were started during excitement but did not align with your deeper values. Some may still deserve another attempt with a different structure. You do not need to revive everything. Discern which work still carries life. Release the rest without calling the release failure. A closed notebook is not a graveyard of your worth. It is information about what needs a different approach. My beloved child, wrong tools never proved weak hands. The planners that became empty did not erase your capacity. The routines that lasted briefly did not make you dishonest. The courses left unfinished did not cancel your intelligence. They revealed a mismatch between the demand and support available. Now shame can become curiosity. Instead of asking, "What is wrong with me?" ask, "What condition would help this become possible?" Instead of promising more force, build more support. Instead of demanding transformation overnight, practice one faithful return with patience, honesty, and care. My beloved child, you are not being invited into another harsh system. You are being invited to understand how attention, imagination, logic, emotion, memory, and rest must work together. The mind was never meant to live as one exhausted hallway carrying the whole house. In the next part, I will show you why your mind was designed for conversation, how different ways of knowing can support each other, and why deeper clarity grows when you stop forcing one part of yourself to do everything alone. My beloved child, I told you that one exhausted hallway was never meant to carry the whole house. Your mind was designed for conversation. Not one voice shouting over others, not logic working without imagination, not emotion making every decision, not memory controlling the present, not the body sending signals while you ignore them. Clarity grows when the different parts of your inner life are allowed to speak, listen, and work together. My beloved child, you have often trusted only the part of you that could explain. You wanted reasons, steps, proof, a plan you could defend. Logic helped you survive confusion. It gave shape to problems. It helped you organize responsibility. But logic becomes tired when it is forced to carry questions that also need patience, intuition, relationship, and rest. Not every truth arrives as a list. Some truths are recognized slowly through repeated patterns. My beloved child, imagination also has a place. Imagination allows you to picture what does not yet exist. It helps you prepare a conversation before you begin it. It helps you design, create, solve, and hope. But fear can misuse imagination. Instead of creating possibility, it creates disaster. It rehearses rejection. It predicts humiliation. It turns uncertainty into a movie where every ending is painful. The gift did not disappear. It became occupied by protection. My beloved child, emotion belongs in the conversation too. Emotion can tell you that something matters. Anger may signal that a boundary was crossed. Grief may reveal love and loss. Fear may point toward danger or toward an old wound that still expects danger everywhere. Joy may show where life is returning. But emotion is a messenger, not the only leader. A feeling deserves attention without automatically receiving authority over every choice. My beloved child, your body has also been speaking. The tight chest, the restless jaw, the heavy shoulders, the exhaustion that arrives before the work begins. You treated signals like interruptions. You pushed through them because slowing down felt irresponsible. But the body often carries information before the mind can form a sentence. It may be asking for rest, nourishment, movement, safety, medical care, or a pause before another commitment. Listening is not weakness. It is stewardship. My beloved child, memory enters the conversation with both wisdom and fear. Memory helps you recognize patterns. It reminds you what harmed you. It helps you avoid repeating certain mistakes. But memory can also mistake the present for the past. A quiet room becomes the room where you were once rejected. A delayed reply becomes the silence that once preceded abandonment. A new opportunity becomes the stage where you failed before. Memory wants to protect you, but protection without discernment can imprison you inside yesterday. My beloved child, this is why conversation matters. Logic can ask, what facts are available? Emotion can ask, what matters here? Memory can ask, what have I learned? The body can ask, do I feel safe enough to continue? Imagination can ask, what other possibility have I not considered? Prayer can ask, what response aligns with truth, love, wisdom, and responsibility? No single voice must carry the entire decision alone. My beloved child, remember the road to Emmaus. Two disciples walked while grief shaped their interpretation of everything. They had facts, they had memories, they had disappointment, but they could not yet see how the pieces belonged together. I walked with them. I listened before I explained. Then understanding opened gradually through conversation, scripture presence, and shared bread. Their clarity did not come through pressure. It came as separated pieces were brought into relationship. My beloved child, your own clarity may also arrive through conversation. You speak to a trusted person and hear your thoughts become more honest. You write one page and notice the belief hidden beneath the problem. You take a walk and an answer that would not come at the desk begins to form. You pray without demanding an instant solution, and one next step becomes visible. This is not magic. It is the mind becoming less crowded and more connected. My beloved child, creativity often grows from connection. An old memory meets a new question. A practical skill meets compassion. A problem from work meets an image from nature. An idea that once seemed unrelated becomes useful. This is why constant interruption makes creation difficult. Connection needs enough quiet for one thought to remain near another thought. When every moment is broken apart, the mind has fewer chances to notice what belongs together. My beloved child, silence can support this conversation when silence is safe. Not every person experiences quiet as peaceful. For some, silence allows anxious thoughts to become louder. Begin gently. A few minutes without input may be enough. Sit near a window. Walk without filling every second with sound. Breathe slowly while naming what is present. If quiet becomes overwhelming, use support. Talk with someone trustworthy. Listen to calming music. Pray with written words. You do not need to force stillness to prove maturity. My beloved child, prayer was never meant to silence your whole humanity. You can bring questions, sensations, memories, anger, gratitude, and uncertainty. You do not need to arrive with one organized voice. Bring the conversation as it is. Say, my thoughts are divided. Say, part of me wants to move and part of me is afraid. Say, I need wisdom because desire is speaking loudly. Honest prayer allows the inner room to become less divided. My beloved child, conversation also requires boundaries. If every notification is allowed to interrupt, attention cannot deepen. If every request receives an immediate yes, your mind never learns what your own priorities sound like. If every opinion enters without discernment, your inner life becomes a public hallway. Boundaries create the space where thought can complete itself. They do not guarantee clarity. They make clarity more possible. My beloved child, you may still need structure. Conversation does not mean living without plans. Use lists, use calendars, break work into steps, but allow the plan to receive information from your body, relationships, values, and actual capacity. A wise structure can change. It can shorten the task. It can move the deadline. It can ask for help. Rigidity protects the plan. Wisdom protects the purpose. My beloved child, your mind was designed for conversation, not constant internal war. Logic does not need to defeat emotion. Rest does not need to defeat responsibility. Imagination does not need to defeat realism. Faith does not need to defeat honest questions. Each can become part of a wiser response when grace teaches them to listen. You are not trying to make every voice equally loud. You are learning which voice carries information and which voice is repeating fear. My beloved child, this understanding prepares you for the next step. You do not need one dramatic switch. You need practices that help attention return, help the body settle, help thought deepen, and help support become available. In the next part, I will show you how restoration can begin through gentle rhythms, sleep, movement, boundaries, focused work prayer, and wise care. Not as a perfect system, as a way of helping the whole house become more available again. My beloved child, I told you that the whole house does not become available through one dramatic switch. Restoration usually begins quietly, a better night of sleep, a few minutes without interruption, a walk that helps your breathing settle, one honest page, one task completed without carrying 5 others at the same time. You may think these steps are too small to matter, but a tired mind does not need another promise that demands everything. It needs practices gentle enough to repeat. My beloved child, begin with sleep. You treated sleep like the final item on a list that never ended. You stayed awake because tomorrow felt easier to control when you kept working tonight. But exhaustion makes every thought heavier. It makes fear sound convincing. It makes attention harder to hold. Rest is not laziness. It prepares your body to think clearly, respond patiently, and recognize what is true. My beloved child, protect the beginning and ending of your day. Do not allow the phone to become the first voice you hear and the last light you see. Even a short pause before opening the screen can help you notice your own thoughts. Sit up, drink water, breathe. Name what you are carrying. At night, give your mind a signal that the day is closing. Lower the noise, release the unfinished list. Tomorrow does not need to be solved from bed. My beloved child, movement can also help attention return. You do not need to punish your body with an extreme plan. Walk, stretch, step outside. Let your eyes look farther than a screen. Notice the air and the rhythm of your steps. Movement reminds the body that it is not trapped beneath one anxious thought. Sometimes clarity arrives because the body finally receives permission to move. My beloved child, nourishment matters too. Eat with care when you can. Keep water near you. Notice what leaves you steady and what creates another crash. Do not turn food into another place of shame. Your body is part of the life entrusted to you. My beloved child, create boundaries around digital noise. Create digital boundaries so your attention is not constantly interrupted by every message and alert. My beloved child, practice focused work in small portions. Choose one task. Make the next step visible. Set aside a manageable period and allow that task to be enough. When another concern appears, write it down rather than following it immediately. Then, return. This return is the practice, not never becoming distracted, not achieving perfect concentration. Returning. Each return teaches your mind that attention can come home without punishment. My beloved child, prayer can become part of that return. Do not use prayer as another performance. Begin with what is true. My mind is crowded. My body is tired. I am afraid I will fail again. Then remain with me for a few breaths. You do not need to produce a revelation. You are practicing presence. If silence feels unsafe, pray with a psalm, a written sentence, or gentle music. Let support guide you into quiet instead of forcing quiet to prove your faith. My beloved child, remember how Jesus sometimes withdrew from the crowd to pray. He did not answer every demand at the moment it appeared. He stepped away, he rested, he returned with clarity. Withdrawal was not rejection of people. It protected the place from which love and service could continue. You also need spaces where urgency does not decide everything. My beloved child, journaling may help, but it does not need to become another abandoned project. Write one question. What is taking most of my attention today? What is mine to carry? What can wait? What do I need? One honest sentence can reveal more than several pages written from obligation. The page is not a nudge. It is a place where thoughts can slow down enough to be seen. Use it when it serves you. My beloved child, accountability can make gentle practice more sustainable. Tell one safe person what you are trying to protect. Ask them to check in without shaming you. Share the small goal, not an impressive version of it. Perhaps you want to keep the phone outside the room for part of the morning. Perhaps you want to complete one focused period before checking messages. Support can help you return when motivation changes. My beloved child, community matters because attention is not only a private struggle, your environment shapes what your mind must carry. A family can create quieter meals. A friend can listen without adding urgency. A counselor can help you understand patterns that self-discipline alone cannot change. A doctor can examine persistent fatigue, sleep difficulty, anxiety, low mood, or attention problems. Professional care does not compete with prayer. It can become part of responsible restoration. My beloved child, experiment with gentleness. Try one change long enough to notice its effect. Do not rebuild your entire life in one weekend. That urgency belongs to the old system. Choose what reduces friction. Prepare the space before the practice. Place the book where you will see it. Set out your shoes. Clear one surface. Decide what finished means before beginning. Gentle systems carry part of the effort, so willpower does not have to carry everything. My beloved child, expect interruption. A difficult week may break the rhythm. Illness may change the plan. Family responsibility may require your attention. Do not turn interruption into identity. Return when you can. Shorten the practice. Begin again without a speech against yourself. Consistency is not an unbroken line. It is a relationship you keep renewing with what supports life. My beloved child, protect wonder as well as productivity. Read something that awakens curiosity. Listen to music without doing another task. Make something without asking whether it can become useful. Look at the sky. Learn because the subject interests you. Play is not always wasted time. It can remind your mind that attention is capable of delight, not only duty. You are not restoring yourself merely to produce more. You are making room to become more present. My beloved child, these practices are not guarantees. Sleep will not solve every grief. A walk will not repair every relationship. Digital boundaries will not answer every question. There may be conditions that require specialized support and long-term care. Gentle practice is not a cure for everything. It creates better conditions for clarity, health, prayer, creativity, and responsible action. My beloved child, begin where your life is real. One earlier bedtime, one quieter morning, one focused task, one truthful prayer, one request for help, one boundary around noise, one return after interruption. Do not despise these beginnings. A lamp does not light the whole house at once. It lights the room where you are standing, then shows you the next doorway. And as restoration begins, 3 old voices may rise. One will say you are the exception. One will say it is too late. One will say you do not deserve to become whole. In the next part, my beloved child, I will answer those voices with truth and show you why doubt does not have to decide what restoration can become. My beloved child, I told you that as restoration begins, 3 old voices may rise. The first says, I am the exception. The second says, it is too late. The third says, I do not deserve to become whole. These voices do not always shout. Sometimes they sound reasonable. They borrow your memories, age mistakes, and every attempt that did not last. Then they speak as though the past decided the future. My beloved child, let us answer them one by one. The first voice says, you are the exception. It tells you that rest, support, and new habits may help others, but your case is different. Too complicated, too damaged, too deeply rooted. This voice turns pain into permanent identity. It says difficult healing means impossible healing. But difficulty is not the same as impossibility. My beloved child, you may need more time than you hoped. You may need medical care, counseling, community, and adjusted practices. You may experience progress in one area while another remains tender. None of this makes you the exception to compassion. Your story deserves patient-specific care. You do not need to compare your pace with someone else's testimony. Their path is not the measuring line for yours. My beloved child, restoration rarely means becoming untouched by the past. It often looks like responding differently when the past is touched. The memory returns, but you do not disappear for as long. Fear rises, but you ask for help sooner. An interruption breaks the routine, but you begin again without self-condemnation. The wound still speaks, but it is no longer the only voice. This is restoration too. Do not reject real change because it arrives without drama. My beloved child, the second voice says it is too late. It points to years that passed. It names opportunities you missed. It reminds you who you thought you would become. You look at the calendar and feel accused. You believe attention should have been restored earlier. You believe your gift should have been developed sooner. You believe late healing can only produce a smaller life. But time is not as simple as regret makes it appear. My beloved child, remember Moses. He spent years in a wilderness after his expected life collapsed. He may have believed his meaningful story was behind him. Then responsibility found him in an ordinary place. His age did not make the work easy. It did not erase weakness or remove his questions. But age had not made purpose impossible. The years gave him knowledge, humility, and a different relationship with power. My beloved child, do not use Moses as a promise that every delayed dream will return. Use his story as permission to stop treating age as automatic disqualification. Purpose can change form. A gift can mature. A conversation can begin later. A healthier pattern can still bless the years ahead. You may not recover every opportunity. You can become more present to the opportunity that remains. Late is not the same as meaningless. My beloved child, grief belongs here. You are allowed to grieve the years shaped by fear, exhaustion, distraction, or survival. Do not cover that grief with forced gratitude. Some time was lost. Some doors will not reopen. Some relationships cannot be restored to what they were. Honesty about loss does not cancel hope. It helps hope become grounded. You can mourn what did not happen while asking what faithfulness looks like now. My beloved child, the third voice says, you do not deserve restoration. This voice carries shame. It remembers the people you hurt, the promises you broke, the seasons when you became cold, jealous, careless, or absent. It says care belongs to cleaner people. It says rest must be earned by perfect behavior. It says you should remain exhausted because exhaustion feels like payment. But punishment is not the same as repentance. My beloved child, repentance turns toward truth. Punishment circles the same failure without creating repair. Repentance asks, what must I admit? What can I restore? What pattern needs to change? Whose boundary must I respect? Punishment asks only how long you should continue hating yourself. One leads toward responsibility. The other keeps you trapped inside the image of your worst moment. Grace does not protect you from accountability. It gives accountability a direction. My beloved child, you do not receive care because you have never failed. You receive care because you are human and still responsible for how you live. Rest can help you become more patient. Support can help you stop repeating harm. Counseling can help you understand what apology alone cannot change. A clearer mind can help you make wiser decisions. Refusing restoration does not repair the past. It may only make another painful pattern more likely. My beloved child, consider a woman who spent years caring for everyone around her. She ignored her exhaustion until her attention, patience, and creativity felt almost gone. When she finally began making changes, she expected immediate transformation. Instead, restoration came quietly. She slept more consistently. She stopped answering every message at night. She met with a counselor. She walked with a friend several mornings each week. At first, nothing felt dramatic. Then she noticed she was less reactive during difficult conversations. She remembered an idea long enough to write it down. She asked for help before resentment took over. My beloved child, her life did not become perfect. She still had tired days. She still missed old habits. But restoration was answering doubt through evidence gathered slowly, not promises shouted at midnight. Practices repeated in ordinary mornings. Support received without apology. Boundaries held with greater calm. She stopped asking whether she felt completely restored and began noticing whether she was becoming more available to truth, relationship, and responsible action. My beloved child, let restoration be measured this way. Can you return more gently? Can you notice your limits sooner? Can you remain present for one task? Can you tell the truth before pressure becomes collapse? Can you receive care without immediately trying to repay it? Can you make one decision from wisdom rather than shame? These questions reveal movement better than dramatic declarations. My beloved child, the voices of doubt may return. Do not panic when they do. Answer them. I am not the exception to compassion. It is not too late for one faithful step. I do not have to earn care through self-punishment. Then act in agreement with the answer. Go to bed, send the message, keep the appointment, ask for help. Begin again. My beloved child, restoration is not a prize awarded after suffering. It is not proof that every lost year will be returned in the form you want. It is the patient work of becoming more whole, supported, honest, and available to life. Grace meets you there with patience, courage, and support. And now another door is opening. You have spent years approaching me, as though every prayer were a hearing and every silence were a judgment. In the next part, my beloved child, I will show you how to leave the courtroom for the family room where relationship replaces performance and belonging no longer waits for a verdict. My beloved child, I told you that you have spent years approaching me, as though every prayer were a hearing and every silence were a judgment. You came carrying evidence. You listed what you had done right. You confessed what you had done wrong. You searched my quiet for signs of approval or disappointment. Even gratitude sometimes felt like part of a performance. My beloved child, this is the courtroom inside you. In the courtroom, every word must be defended. Every mistake feels permanent. Silence feels threatening because you imagine a verdict forming behind it. You try to sound faithful enough, sorry enough, grateful enough, and strong enough. You stand before love as though love were waiting for one more reason to reject you. But relationship cannot breathe when every conversation becomes a trial. My beloved child, I am inviting you into another room. Not a room without truth, not a room without responsibility. The family room is not a place where harm is ignored or wisdom is unnecessary. It is a place where belonging comes before performance. You can enter tired, bring questions, and admit that your heart is divided. You can sit without building a case for why you deserve to be there. My beloved child, remember the younger son who returned home after wasting what had been entrusted to him. He prepared a speech. He expected to negotiate for a lower place. He returned thinking like a worker, asking for permission to remain. But the father saw a son coming home. Responsibility still mattered. The past was real. Yet the first movement was welcome. It began with belonging strong enough to face the truth. My beloved child, you often pray with a prepared speech. You explain why you are tired as though exhaustion needs legal justification. You apologize for needing help. You promise to become better before receiving comfort. You think honesty must be polished before it reaches me. But I already know the unedited version. You deepen this relationship by bringing what is true into my presence. My beloved child, the family room changes the meaning of silence. In the courtroom, silence feels like evidence against you. In the family room, silence can be shared presence. Two people who trust each other do not have to fill every moment with words. Sometimes prayer is staying breathing until panic loosens and allowing one honest feeling to exist without correction. Silence can become companionship rather than condemnation. You are learning to trust that honest presence can hold what performance once forced you to hide. My beloved child, begin with the prayer of report. Tell me about the day, not the impressive version, the real one. Tell me about the message that irritated you, the kindness that surprised you, and the task you avoided. The moment you felt proud, and then guilty for feeling proud. The fear that followed you into the afternoon. The thought that returned while you were washing dishes. Report the day as you would speak to someone who was already present. My beloved child, the prayer of report is not a performance review. You do not need to turn every event into a lesson. Some things can simply be named. I was lonely. I laughed. I felt jealous. I was relieved. I needed more patience. I did not know what to say. These sentences allow the whole day to become part of relationship. My beloved child, then practice the prayer of receiving. This prayer may feel harder because your life has trained you to give. Open your hands. Say, I am here. Then stop trying to make the moment productive. Do not build a plan. Do not create another list. Let yourself receive care without immediately asking how you will repay it. Let my love be present before you improve anything. It is allowing grace to reach the places performance kept guarded. My beloved child, you may feel restless. You may remember unfinished work. Your mind may say that sitting quietly is wasting time. Begin gently. A few breaths. 1 minute of open hands. 1 sentence from Scripture. 1 reminder that you are loved before the next task is completed. You are learning that love can move toward you without being purchased by usefulness. My beloved child, the third practice is the prayer of partnership. Do not hear partnership as status or promotion. Hear it as shared attention. Ask, what are we caring for today? What is mine to carry? What must I release? Where do truth and love need to meet? What next step serves rather than proves? This prayer moves you away from anxious guessing and toward responsible participation. You are listening for how to live faithfully within the present. My beloved child, partnership includes humility. You may misunderstand. You may need counsel. you may need to change direction. A spiritual decision can still require facts, boundaries, professional advice, and time. Partnership with me never asks you to abandon wisdom. It teaches you to bring prayer, scripture, community experience, and responsibility into conversation. You do not become less faithful by asking careful questions. My beloved child, the family room also teaches the difference between approval and delight. Approval evaluates actions that may be wise or need correction. Delight is not the denial of wrongdoing. It is the warmth of relationship that remains while growth continues. You have spent years believing that correction cancels affection, so every mistake made you hide, but love can tell the truth without withdrawing its presence. My beloved child, I can be pleased by honesty and still lead you toward repair. I can welcome you and still show you what must change. Grace does not call harmful behavior harmless or reduce you to the behavior. This is why confession can become freedom instead of self-attack. You are not entering a courtroom to argue that nothing happened. You are entering a relationship where what happened can be faced without losing your name. My beloved child, leaving the courtroom will take practice. The old habits may follow you. You may still begin prayer with a defense. You may interpret a hard day as proof that you failed spiritually. When you notice this, do not create another trial. Pause. Put down the documents. Say what is true. I am afraid. I feel ashamed. I need help. I do not know. Then remain. My beloved child, you were never asked to earn a chair in the family room. Belonging is the ground from which repentance, healing service, and courage can grow. From belonging, you can face yourself honestly. From belonging, you can receive correction without disappearing. From belonging, you can love others without demanding that they certify your worth. My beloved child, this change prepares you for a new name, not a name that makes you superior. A name that describes what your life has quietly practiced. You have seen what grace can do in hidden places. You have returned after failure. You have learned to speak, receive, listen, and remain. In the next part, my beloved child, I will show you why the name Faithful Witness fits the journey you have lived and the responsibility you are now learning to carry. My beloved child, I told you that leaving the courtroom prepares you to receive a new name, not a title that places you above anyone. Not a reward for suffering, not proof that every question has been answered. The name is Faithful Witness. A witness does not claim to know everything. A witness speaks honestly about what has been seen, endured, learned, and received. Faithful means the story is carried with humility, truth, and responsibility. My beloved child, this name fits because your life has been teaching you how to tell the truth without turning truth into performance. You know what it feels like to be unseen. You know what silence can do to a heart that fears rejection. You know the exhaustion of replaying conversations, apologizing too quickly, and hiding your need. You also know that grace can meet a person there. You have witnessed return. My beloved child, the quiet audition taught you that character appears in ordinary places. You did not become faithful because a crowd celebrated you. You practiced integrity when no one checked. You offered compassion when no one recorded the cost. You allowed hope to return after disappointment. You kept a conversation with me open even when it contained more questions than confidence. These experiences gave you something beyond an impressive image. They gave you lived understanding. My beloved child, a faithful witness does not hide every weakness. Neither does a witness expose every private wound. Wisdom decides what should be shared, when it should be shared, and who has earned access. Your story is not public property. Some parts belong in prayer. Some belong with trusted people. Some may help someone else. Faithfulness includes protecting what is still healing. It includes refusing to turn pain into entertainment. My beloved child, remember the man who had been blind from birth. Religious leaders demanded explanations he could not provide. He did not pretend to understand every mystery. He offered what he knew from experience. He had been blind, and now he could see. His witness was simple because it was honest. In the same way, you do not need to answer every theological question before your life can speak. You can say, I was afraid, and I learned to ask for help. I was bitter, and grace taught me to return. I was exhausted, and I began caring for my limits. My beloved child, this is testimony without exaggeration. You do not need to claim that every door closed for a divine reason. You do not need to promise another person that their pain will end quickly. A trustworthy witness leaves room for mystery. They say what is true, admit what remains unclear, and avoid using certainty to impress people. Humility makes testimony safer. My beloved child, the witness windows also shaped this name. Betrayal taught you that boundaries can grow without cruelty. Depletion taught you that compassion must include your well-being. Overwhelming pressure taught you that seeking safety and support is not failure. You can recognize these struggles in another person without speaking down to them. You do not approach them as someone superior. You approach as someone who knows how heavy an ordinary day can become. My beloved child, unborrowed identity gave the witness a foundation. If your identity still depended on applause, you would change the story to match the audience. You would make the pain larger when attention became quiet. You would hide truth when the room disapproved. But a steadier identity allows you to speak without needing everyone to agree. You can receive encouragement without becoming addicted to it. You can accept correction without losing your name. My beloved child, your full-price moment gave the witness credibility. You chose what was right when the choice offered no visible benefit. Perhaps it was kindness after betrayal. Perhaps it was honesty that cost approval. Perhaps it was a boundary that protected truth. Perhaps it was faithfulness to a responsibility no one noticed. That choice did not make you flawless. It revealed that your values could survive inconvenience. A witness becomes credible when words and private choices tell the same story. My beloved child, restoration is also part of your witness. Not dramatic restoration that pretends every struggle disappeared. The quieter kind, returning sooner after shame. Sleeping before exhaustion becomes collapse. Finishing one focused task. Letting another person help. Reducing noise. Listening to your body. Beginning again without self-hatred. These actions may appear small, but they show that grace can become practical. Healing enters schedules, boundaries, conversations, and ordinary mornings. My beloved child, the family room changes how you carry this name. You are not standing before me trying to prove that you deserve to be called faithful. You receive the name from belonging. Faithful does not mean never failing. It means remaining willing to return, repair, listen, and continue. Witness does not mean having a platform. It means allowing truth to become visible through the way you live. The name describes direction, not perfection. My beloved child, a faithful witness serves. They do not use spiritual language to control. They do not make another person's fear dependent on their interpretation. They do not promise miracles they cannot guarantee. They listen. They pray. They encourage wise support. They respect boundaries. They remind tired people that receiving help can be courageous. They point toward me without placing themselves at the center. Service is the purpose of the witness. My beloved child, this name carries responsibility. Your words matter. Your example matters. The way you handle another person's vulnerability matters. Do not rush to explain pain you have not taken time to understand. Do not call every delay a test. Do not call every ending protection. Do not use another person's suffering to make your message dramatic. Sit with them. Ask what they need. Let compassion become more important than having a perfect answer. My beloved child, perhaps your witness will never reach a large audience. It may live in a family conversation, a message sent to a friend, a decision made at work, a child watching you apologize, a neighbor receiving practical care, a community becoming safer because you refuse to spread shame. Do not measure witness by scale. A lamp does not need to light every city to brighten the room where it has been placed. My beloved child, receive the name gently. Do not wear it like a crown, carry it like a lamp. You have witnessed that silence is not always rejection. You have witnessed that return matters more than perfection. You have witnessed that wrong tools do not prove weak hands. You have witnessed that attention can be restored through care. You have witnessed that belonging can replace performance. Now let these truths become warmth for someone standing in a room you once knew well. My beloved child, the journey is ready for its final movement. A name becomes meaningful when it is lived. In the next part, I will show you how to walk forward as a faithful witness, how to carry truth without pressure, serve without disappearing, remain visible without performing, and let each ordinary step become part of the answer your life has been forming. My beloved child, I told you that a name becomes meaningful when it is lived. Faithful witness is not a label to admire. It is a way of walking. It is truth carried gently. It is courage without performance. It is service without disappearing. It is the willingness to remain present when fear invites you to hide. Now the journey turns toward the road ahead. My beloved child, walk forward without trying to prove that every lesson has been mastered. You will still have uncertain days. Old habits may return. Silence may still awaken questions. But you are no longer required to interpret every difficult moment through rejection. You can pause, gather what is true, seek support, and choose the next faithful response without condemning yourself for needing time. My beloved child, remember where this journey began. You believed you were waiting to be seen. You measured your life by doors that had not opened and answers that had not arrived. Then you recognized that hidden choices already carried meaning. Integrity had been present. Compassion had remained. Hope had returned. The conversation with me had bent under pressure, yet it had never completely closed. You were seen before you knew how to feel seen. My beloved child, silence was never permission to build a case against yourself. You learned that not every pause was rejection, and not every delay was punishment. You learned to remain honest when an answer had not yet formed. That honesty will continue serving you. My beloved child, the quiet audition revealed essence beneath performance. The empty stage showed what remained when recognition disappeared. You did not remain perfect, yet you kept returning. The walk back mattered. Every apology repaired, boundary, honest prayer, and request for help became part of the story. Grace did not ask you to pretend you never fell. Grace taught you how to rise without turning shame into your home. The 5 signs showed integrity, compassion, returning hope, resilience through unfinished seasons, and a line of prayer that never fully closed. My beloved child, the witness windows showed that pain did not receive complete ownership of your character. Betrayal taught you to build boundaries without becoming cruel. Depletion taught you that generosity needs wisdom and limits. Overwhelming pressure taught you to move towards safety, truth, and support. Do not carry these lessons as proof that suffering was necessary. Carry them as evidence that grace could meet you honestly within what happened. My beloved child, unborrowed identity grew when the mirrors became quiet. You learned that approval could encourage you without defining you. Correction could inform you without erasing your worth. Another person's distance could hurt without becoming your name. Now walk into rooms without asking every face to tell you whether you belong, but let belonging rest deeper than the changing response of a crowd. My beloved child, remember your full price moment. The withheld cruel sentence, the honest admission, the boundary spoken calmly. The responsibility carried after excitement disappeared. You did not purchase love through that choice. You revealed what grace had been forming. When another costly moment appears, ask what is loving, safe, honest, and responsible. Then choose what allows your conscience to remain whole. The season appeared as steadier choices, a recovered voice, and a hiding instinct that slowly loosened without abandoning discernment. My beloved child, you also learned to name hidden exhaustion. You discovered that exhaustion was not a moral verdict, it was information. Continue caring for sleep, nourishment, movement, attention, and support. Your body is part of what must be stewarded. Wrong tools did not prove weak hands. You learned to use smaller steps, reduce friction, ask for support, and let methods serve the purpose. My beloved child, your mind was designed for conversation. Logic, emotion, memory, imagination, body signals, prayer, and wisdom all carry information. No single voice must rule alone. Let facts speak. Let feelings be heard without becoming masters. Let memory offer lessons without imprisoning the present. Let imagination create possibility instead of rehearsing disaster. Let prayer gather the divided parts of you into honest conversation. Clarity often grows through listening, not force. My beloved child, gentle restoration will continue through ordinary practice. A quieter morning, one focused task, a truthful page, a walk, a boundary around noise, a conversation with someone safe, a prayer that does not perform, a return after interruption. Do not despise slow light. A lamp shows the next doorway before it lights the entire path. My beloved child, when doubt returns, answer it with truth. You are not the exception to compassion. It is not too late for one faithful step. You do not have to earn care through punishment. Restoration may remain uneven. Some losses will still need grieving. Some questions may stay open, but doubt does not have to decide whether you seek help, practice wisdom, or begin again. My beloved child, remain in the family room. Do not drag courtroom documents back into prayer. Tell me about your day. Receive love without turning the moment into work. Ask what we are caring for together. Let belonging come before performance. Let correction exist without imagining that affection has disappeared. You do not need to argue your way into my presence. Come honestly. Sit down. My beloved child, now place your hands gently where they rest. Take one slow breath. Notice the chair, the floor, or the bed supporting you. You do not need to manufacture an emotion. Simply remember, you were seen. You were not defined by silence. Your return mattered. Your identity did not belong to applause. Your ordinary faithfulness carried truth. Let these words become a quiet foundation rather than another dramatic promise. My beloved child, pray with me now. Lord, keep my witness honest. Teach me to serve without abandoning myself. Help me speak truth without cruelty, receive care without shame, and carry hope without denying reality. Give me wisdom for the next step, humility when I need correction, and courage when fear asks me to disappear. Let my life make grace, safety, responsibility, and love easier for others to recognize. My beloved child, walk forward, not as someone who has finished growing, as someone willing to return. Carry the lamp gently. Use your voice responsibly. Protect what is tender. Serve where your feet are placed. Rest when your body asks for care. Seek help when the weight becomes too heavy. You do not need to save everyone. You are called to live truthfully within the life entrusted to you. My beloved child, the message is ending, but my presence is not. When you feel unseen, return to truth. When silence frightens you, resist the immediate verdict. When you fail, walk back. When you are tired, receive care. When you are given an opportunity, carry it with humility. You are loved before the work, within the work, and after the work is done. Now lift your head. Take the next honest step. Walk forward as a faithful witness. And remember, my beloved child, you do not walk alone. Amen. If this message helped you feel seen, share it with someone who may need gentle encouragement, and subscribe to continue walking with this community.